32 minutes, 21 seconds. 5-second tone followed by a 1-second pause.
You are listening to Space Boy Universe.
Okay, gang, let's go.
From the space city called Houston, Texas, welcome to Space Boy Universe, featuring Space Boy and the lovely Solana. So strap in and prepare for launch sequence.
Greetings and salutations. I am Space Boy, and Solana's over there. Trust me, she's alive, barely. And this is Space Boy Universe. It is January 13th, 2018, and this wonderful show is going to have a guest by the name of Solaris BlueRaven. Man, we're excited to have her. As always, follow us on Twitter. That's at the SBU Universe. Follow Solana at Solana, and follow me at Spaceboy Music. Of course, follow the show that brings you all this content. That's the network, and that's at the SBU Network. Want to hang out with the Space Cadets? You can do so by going to spaceboyuniverse.com. Click the dancing chat bubble, and that'll get you in with all the cool kids. Hey, cool kids, you know it's your duty to remember to hashtag your tweets tonight with hashtag SBUniverse and hashtag Space Cadets. And then, of course, if in addition to Twitter, you can find the universe on Facebook, Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube. Just look for Space Boy Universe. Speaking of YouTube, you can find more than the Spaceboy Universe archive of shows. That's right. There is video content from Spaceboy Music, video interviews, 2-Bit Gamers, and so much more. So become a subscriber, Space Cadets. It's your duty to fall in line and do that. So follow that. What's so funny? I haven't... Anyway.
I'll tell you after the show.
Okay. I'm sure it'll be amusing. Can't catch the show live? No problemo. Take the SBU on the go with you via Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. And that's the way we like to roll. Jelly roll. So on that magical note, I know how you are, Solana, but go ahead and tell our audience.
I'm here.
Versus there?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think you put in so much sleep that
whatever this is, it hit me, and it hit me hard this week.
Mm-hmm. Just
and
this week?
I am so tired of coughing. I could cry.
Well, I think I pulled a muscle in my back the other day. I was really pretty bad off.
You've made noises that really alarmed me.
Yeah, I was pretty messed up. I couldn't stand up. It was that bad. I coughed so hard and pulled the muscle in my back this morning. That
was the noise I was scared about.
When I pulled the muscle.
Mm-hmm.
I was fine until I get all the way home, and
yeah.
And then when I got out of the van, it was like, holy smokes, what the heck did I just do to myself? And I've been sore. I know if I move a certain way, my whole spine feels like about crooked as a politician, but that's another story altogether. But so I guess I must have coughed the wrong way as I was bent a certain way, and not like that other night when I was in the kitchen. Remember that when? But that was I was coughing so hard, and then I get this thing where I guess, for the lack of a better way of putting it, is my fat gets kind of lodged into my ribs if I breathe down a certain way, and then it gets stuck. And so it's like I have to do the Lamaze thing so that I can actually get unstuck, if you will. I know it sounds funny, but it's just a weird sensation. I just don't know how to describe it. I guess what it is that in my mind, I'm like the skinny guy, but the reality is I'm just this well-rounded figure that shouldn't move in certain directions, and when I do act like the skinny guy, it really messes my body up. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
My chest hurts.
Oh, I know. You've been coughing crazy. I still got the cough, and it comes and goes.
Yeah, you and I can go round for round on the cough thing to out cough one another.
Yeah, it's like the battling banjos of coughs.
Sorry to hear that, Miss Michelle, about your cat.
Okay.
Sounds like he had a long life, though.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that too. It's always tragic to lose a pet, and our prayers go out to you, and warm feelings to you, and
Muffin was doing everything she could today to get me out of bed on your behalf, I guess.
Well, I left it on open on purpose.
She got up behind my back and she pushed on me, and then she bumped my head, and then she raised up my arms by getting underneath them. It's like she was trying to physically move me out of the bed.
Well, I had told you, I'm going to get breakfast.
Yeah, and then 6 hours later, I don't know what happened.
Oh, it was more than that, because I came back in there around 2, like, okay, are you going to get up? Oh, yeah, give me a minute. And then 4 o'clock came along, and then I see your text message finally. And I'm like, okay, well, the day is pretty much over, so I don't know. I'll just see you when you get up. And hopefully we'll do a show tonight. You even forgot that we were doing a show tonight.
I didn't know it was Saturday.
See how bad it is? Well, in all fairness, I can understand why you didn't know it was Saturday. Because, you must have taken a gallon of Hibernol. And
I am not taking any more of that cough syrup. There's something terribly wrong with that stuff.
But the thing is
it's
that
prescription.
You have slept, you usually sleep late anyway, but you have slept late and then some. And I understand, and I've tried to work through my little illness too, and it's been difficult because I went back to work, and people at work have gone home sick as well. So I'm like I'm struggling to get through.
There's something going around.
Struggling to get through work, period. With some of the symptoms, mild symptoms of what I've been having. But still, when you're by yourself at work and you're trying to get things going, it's a nightmare. So anyway, that's my story on that end. So I guess as the full disclaimer, as last week, be prepared to hear us cough up a little bit here and there, and it's all going to be expected because we're not professionals. When you listen to Solana and myself, we're 100% real.
We're probably only going to
coughs and everything.
More unprofessional as time goes on.
But I think that's why the audience tunes into. If you want professionalism, there's fake media out there you can listen to, or watch.
We're not trying to lie to you.
Your CNNs or your Fox Newses. Go pick a channel. If you want professionalism-ish or faux professionalism, we're not professionals whatsoever. We're just here to entertain you with our daily angst and stuff like that. Speaking of going to breakfast this morning, I didn't tell you this. I was saving this as kind of a surprise. So I get to the taco place up here, right? And I'm not going to name them. But so I walk in, and they've got most restaurants have the TVs for menu boards now.
Yeah.
You remember the good old days when they used to put letters and stickers and all that sort of things on the menu boards, and now everything's high tech and everything. So I walk in, and the menu boards are black, and then all of a sudden I see pop up that the I guess you could say the splash screen where it tells you, do you want to start normally, or do you want to go into recover mode? And so it then went into
safe
recover mode, and not safe mode. Recover mode is a little bit different, where it tries to fix the files.
Oh, that's worse.
Yeah. So the thing is, I think that's what happened is that usually in some of these cases, the computer arbitrarily got shut down. And it's trying to ask you, do you want to start normally, or do you want to go into a repair safe mode? And so it was in that mode. So I told the guy was try to get a hold of his tech support, and he couldn't. I said, "Hey, look, I'm an experienced tech guy. What you're looking at here is just go back there, reboot your computer. When it comes up back to that screen to start normally, click start normally, and it should let you back in. If it doesn't, then try to call your tech department, see if you can get a hold of somebody by then." So he goes through the whole process. I've ordered my breakfast, a couple tacos and some other deliciousness. And as soon as I get my order, the menu screens come back up. So I helped the guy fix the problem. And then no sooner than they came back up, he got a call from the IT department. He said, never mind, I fixed it. Mm-hmm. So I helped the guy this morning doing tech work. Freebies. And, and I did it, must have thought I did it out of the kindness of my heart because I didn't get any free comps out of it. But, I guess it was just the satisfaction of being, hey, I know what that is. I can fix that for you, And so,
So can you tell me what this whole emergency alert thing with Hawaii?
Wow, talk about jumping from left to right. Apparently around 8:08 this morning, you know how they send out alerts on our phones, like Amber Alert or stuff like that?
Yeah, I know they can. I've never seen anything besides Amber Alerts.
Well, I think, didn't they do some, Houston alerts when they had all the weather?
They might have. Yeah, actually they did. That's right.
So it was very similar to that where they got, Hawaii got a notification that the ballistic missile threat is... hold on, let me read my notes here. Got a little... a missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. Well, apparently it was not real. It was apparently a mistake on whomsoever part, or whoever you want to say. And I guess it just... What gets me is that how easily that... something like that can go out and say, "Oh, well, we're sorry. We're just joshing you. We're just joshing you. You can go back to bed. No need to wake up."
Result of human error, according to their governor.
Right.
Should not have happened. They're investigating it. The errors made in emergency management, which allows this false alarm to be sent. Procedure occurs at the change of shift, where they go through to make sure the system is working. The employee pushed the wrong button.
Okay, here's what gets me. You pushed the wrong button.
Should it be under a piece of plastic that you have to lift up? And,
listen to what you just said. Pushed the wrong button. Is there one button that sends out a command that says type this all out and then sends it out? Mm-hmm. Somebody had to type this out and then send it. Now, in this day of can we trust it or can we not trust it, this kind of spins a thing. One, you're dealing either with an employee that's...
Wait a minute. You're going to love this.
Okay.
Not my coughing. According to the Federal Communication Commission, the emergency alert system is a national warning system used by national, state, and local officials to address the public, deliver emergency information to us, weather, amber, missiles. FCC Chairman Ajit Pai announced on Twitter that his agency will launch his own investigation. Well, don't you feel better now?
Ooh, FCC to the rescue. But I know why you hate him. But, that's besides the point. The point is here is either you're dealing with an employee that was a total, I'm going to just say a jerkosaurus, or there was a hack of some kind, or the ultimate conspiracy theory is maybe there was an inbound missile and they just didn't want the public to know, to, freak them out. In this day and age, you can't be,
accidentally truthful?
Yeah, because do you really trust the politicians?
No.
I mean, and it just seems like somebody that has their pulse on that information. That's like 911 kind of stuff, You don't call or tell us, scream out in a crowded theater, fire, kind of thing.
Right.
So.
Oh man, you'd love this. Have you heard about this? The wireless MIDI ring allows you to perform musical effects with hand gestures.
I wonder what this one is.
Well, that would be for critiquing.
Okay, yes.
That hand gestures for...
Sorry, I threw you off there.
You set me off.
Yep.
This cool company called Enhancia has been working on this ring you wear. It looks like a piece of jewelry. It's coming to Kickstarter. You wear it on your index finger of your right hand, and you use it to trigger musical effects like pitch bends or vibrato, making specific movements while playing a keyboard. Stop doing that. You're going to set me off. It's lightweight, made out of plastic, metal accent, communicates with a hub that's on your computer, and it will charge the ring. Tells the ring which effects are mapped to which movements. Standalone piece of software, excuse me, and a plug-in, which can be used with digital audio workstations like Ableton and Logic. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it'll work with Reason.
Oh, I'm imagine it could. Reason has a generic thing where you can program it.
So it's got track 3 specific hand movements mapped to certain digital effects that are chosen by default, which you can swap them out, you know. Mm-hmm. Slight hand wobbles for vibrato, slow tilt back and forth for pitch bend, tilt forward for low pass filter. I assume you know what that means. I don't know what it means. These movements were chosen because they tend to be natural gestures while playing a keyboard anyway. I guess if you have those buttons or knobs there. Mm-hmm. It gives you a way to add dimension and extra expression while you're playing. I guess it's more of a natural... I don't know why you've set me off.
Sorry, I guess. And I was going to make the point that you probably could do that song "Bird."
Well, the concept is not new for this of a MIDI ring, but they want the musicians to be able to play their keyboard and make these movements naturally. And they showed this at the CES, and the final version is going to be wireless because why would you have wires on a ring? And it will have interchangeable ring bands for the best fit. And they're going to start trying to fund it in March on Kickstarter. Isn't that cool?
That is very cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to crack you up.
God, stop doing that.
I mean, it's very...
Could you be more boring, please?
I try not to be boring. So,
well, it's not going to be productive if you're too entertaining.
I don't know what I can do, But anyway, so... I was watching the news the other day, and a hospital left this poor woman outside of the hospital, freezing cold, in her, I guess, her hospital gown. And, I guess she was done. They kicked her out the front door or whatever, and she was out there in the freezing cold, but nothing but a nightgown and, the hospital gown and the fuzzy socks that they provide.
I'm surprised they didn't take all that back from her.
No, well, then she'd pretty much be buck naked. But it's
usually when you're discharged, you get into the clothes you came in with or something.
You would think, but apparently, she didn't have any clothes other than what she had in the hospital, and of course the hospital, they're like, "Oh, we're sorry, we don't know what we did here," and blah blah blah, but. There's no excuse for that. And true, there is no excuse, period, to stick somebody out in the cold like that.
Usually they wait with you. Somebody waits with you till you get picked up.
Yeah, they wheeled her out and
like they take you all the way to the car and wait for you to get in it, and then they leave.
Nope. If it wasn't for the kindness of a stranger passing by, noticing the poor woman, she probably would have just been out there and froze to death and, had a return trip to the hospital. I just think it's shameful that the hospital did that to that poor lady. That she could have been put into a waiting area. If they were just so concerned about money and a room and all that other stuff. But the humanity of sending somebody out there, or the inhumanity of sending somebody out in the freezing cold with barely anything on. I'm just blown away. It's one of those, it's one of those things, Sir Lana, that gets my goat.
Okay.
Just thought I'd pull the goat out because then it wouldn't be a night without the goat. Mm-hmm. And
goat, I'm unmoved by the goat.
It's sad that you're unmoved by the goat. Let's see what else do I got on my thing here. Oh, congratulations to Mr. Lobo and Dixie. I guess they're wedded, and so congratulations to them. Big fan of Mr. Lobo, and his wife is adorable, and I'm very happy for them. They make an excellent couple. They're like the good side of us.
Okay.
Anyway, what else you got?
Deadpool 2 is coming out 2 weeks earlier than expected.
That's because of the Disney Shuffle.
Yeah.
They don't want to compete with any of the stuff that They have, since they own everything. I guess they're. Could you imagine? I guess if they owned everything, that means we'd get like new movie every so many weeks instead of them just piling in at one time.
Yeah.
And so I imagine moving forward, you're going to see that where the schedule is kind of spread out over the year versus strategic times of when they would do movies like December and March and, starting late May, for all these movies, especially Marvel. I mean, going beyond Marvel, Disney in general with Marvel, Star Wars. I mean, because I know that in, I guess, March, you're going to have the Han Solo movie somewhere in that time. And you got Deadpool coming up. There's the Avengers, Infinity War coming up. So you got that coming out. So it just makes sense that if you got a big tentpole movie production coming out, you wouldn't want to put the Avengers up against the Han Solo movie. Two major movie that would draw in a lot of money. You would want to spread them out so that it doesn't seem like it's all top of each other and both movies lose money. Make sense?
When it's, especially you're at the same production company.
Yes, exactly. So, we'll have to wait and see how all that those dominoes fall. But, I'm looking forward to Deadpool 2. You saw the trailer? What did you think of the trailer? It
wasn't much of a trailer. It was just like bam, 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 bam.
I know, but wasn't it like, oh, wow.
That's all I needed.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure you're excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the only superhero thing I've ever been, other than going to see Wonder Woman. It's about it. Those are the only two I've ever cared about.
Was Wonder Woman PG-13 or? I guess it was.
Yeah, I guess it was. Definitely not R.
Yeah.
And they've already pretty much put that in the bag before Disney bought Fox, right? So Disney couldn't say that
keep
PG,
Deadpool weird. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you think Disney will tell them to tone it down?
No, I think that Disney has other subsidiary companies that they produce other movies that are rated R movies. So it's just because it's a Marvel brand, so it's not like they're aiming to be G-rated. It's not like your Mary Poppins. Of course, what's his name from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 would probably think he's Mary Poppins, but I know you're really holding back, not laughing.
No, I'm looking at something else.
Oh, okay.
I can't tell you.
Why? You got a lot of stuff over there that you can't tell me.
Yeah. I can tell you during the break.
Okay, yeah, well, eventually. So what else you got over there?
Nothing. Sorry.
Well, you can complain about Skype.
Oh my God. Skype. Guess what Skype's not doing anymore? You cannot log in to Skype using Facebook login anymore. And we didn't know about that till today, till you couldn't do it anymore. And now all our contacts are gone. And yes, between the IT guru here and myself, which is also an IT, not even we could get the contacts back. So,
well, hold on. In full disclosure here is that, there's only so much work you can do an hour before the show when you're trying to, I guess, pull together some content for the opening of the show. And so, we managed to get the account transferred over. It's just missing the contacts that, we've accumulated. And it's just going to require us.
It's going to have to, everybody's just going to call again and I'll have to save it.
We'll have to dig into a little bit further. I just don't think we got far enough into.
I think it's useless. But anyway, Microsoft seems to be done with Facebook.
Well, the trend is with Microsoft is, like I was trying to explain to you earlier, is that they have you create a Microsoft account. And what that does is it allows you to use one password to rule them all. You get, like get in your Outlook, to get into things like if you buy Skype or if you have Microsoft products like Office, it keeps the keys, or it keeps the ability to, like, say something goes wrong on your machine and you're not able to restore your Outlook or something like that, or Office in general. You can go to your Microsoft account, re-download it. You have that ability to do that. So that's what's going on, is be able to keep all those keys and everything to make it easy for the people that are out there that don't know any better and should not touch a computer.
Probably true. Goodness knows there's some people, well, I better not say that. Some people who have no business even trying to send an email because they'll probably explode the universe.
Well, I do know, excuse me, I deal with a user at work. Give me a second to cough this one out. That uses AOL still for their email.
Oh, Lord.
And it's kind of sad because, it's time to get rid of AOL altogether.
Why is it still there? Hotmail's still there, too.
I thought they converted Hotmail accounts. They're pushing Hotmail to Outlook.com.
I have an Outlook.com.
Mm-hmm. That's what.
But I'm not going to tell you.
I mean, you might have an Outlook, Hotmail.com address, but they really want you to go to the Outlook.com
for business. But I ain't going to tell you what it is.
Well, good for you.
You told me Marvel's finally going to give Black Widow her own movie.
Yeah, I saw a thing on Facebook the other day, and by Jove, I think they've decided to go ahead and give her a chance. And it's about dang time. I'll go see Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow.
I'll go with you.
And, so I think out of the success of Wonder Woman, finally kind of spurred that on. And plus,
they hired someone to write the script.
And plus the acquisitions that we've seen recently, so it looks like it's a go for her. And it's good because, we'll see her. We're still going to get to see a Captain Marvel movie.
That's what happened. Is the trend changed in 2014 when they said they would do Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm. And so we'll just have to wait and see. So we're going to see more superheroine heroine movies.
Same thing.
Yeah. So I think the trend is good. For those who like to see their Chris Hemsworths and their Robert Downey Jr. It is what it is. So I like this trend. So I loved Wonder Woman. Looking forward to the Wonder Woman 2. And I'm happy to know that you'll go.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still gonna. I mean, we went to see Thor Ragnarok, but it was so interrupted that I'm gonna have to rewatch it when it comes out.
Yeah, I guess the food there we ate at the theater.
It didn't agree with us.
Yeah, you
had to take turns leaving and coming back.
So.
Sorry.
That's okay. Well, we're getting close to the bottom of the hour. In fact,
it's cold in here.
I tell you what, Solana, let's go ahead and break. And if you're listening, Solaris, we're about to break now. And you can dial that number. Everybody else, don't dial that number. You're not allowed to. Mm-hmm. So it's exclusive. If you dial that number, Space Cadets,
I can't tell which one you are.
I'm going to pull out a phaser and I'm going to shoot you personally.
No, don't say that. I'll just say it's nice to hear from you, but I'll talk to you later.
Anyway, so sorry, I guess I was being a little mean. I apologize to our Space Cadets.
It's a little harsh.
Yeah, well, all right.
I'll slap him in a minute here.
All right, so here we go. We're going to break, and we'll be back after this.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sirlana.
All right. Miss Solaris BlueRaven is a published author, public speaker, timeline astrologer, MT healer, remote viewer, clairvoyant, and an assessment specialist in psychotronic warfare, synthetic telepathy, and covert technology. Man, I'm glad I got through that part. She is a world-class natural psychic and cosmic advisor. Miss Solaris BlueRaven has been a test pilot for covert technology and has a professional background in surveillance. She investigates global anomalies in addition to her current research. Her expertise in artificial intelligence interface is well respected in the scientific and mystical community. Her book, as well as her latest 1 Million Miles to Midnight, is available now on Amazon and is it Author House Books? Yeah, Author House Books. So give a warm welcome to our good friend, Solaris BlueRaven. How are you tonight, Solaris?
I'm doing well, and I'm glad to hear you both, even though you're coughing, but thank you for inviting me.
Oh, yes.
To be on your show.
We felt it was too long.
Whoa.
Sorry. The whole house is falling apart, too, as well.
Dun.
But
Sounds like a horror movie. No,
we felt it's too long.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, we did like a best of. We've only done a couple of best ofs. We did one where we did the Alien Hunter, Daryl Sims, where we repeated an episode of that. And then, of course, I repeated an episode the last time you were on with us. And so you're like the exclusive club of very limited people that have had a show repeated when we actually needed a day off. And so I was thinking, when we finally got booked on your show, well, originally we were booked to go on your show back when the hurricane came through, and then we lost the power, but then you were gracious enough to reschedule us. And I thought, well, we need to get you on our show and just live it up with you.
Because we have talked about things. We would do some subjects. I'm like, man, I would love to pick her brain on this, but I didn't want to bother her, with, show content, just one-on-one, So I thought, well, maybe I'll just save it till we can actually talk to you with other people listening.
Awesome. Well, like I said, I'm honored. It's always a pleasure to be on your show, both of you. You know how much I love both of you, and I think you're wonderful beings, and I send you good healing vibes. I encourage everybody in the chat to send really good healing energies to both of you so you can get those coughs under control and feel better.
Well, maybe I like my cough.
No, she doesn't.
Oh,
like
you don't
trust
want
me.
that. Go ahead.
Yeah, you don't hear it on my side. She's like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I can't.
Yeah, I was complaining today.
Yeah, the feeling is mutual when Solaris. As you know,
we had a blast on your show.
I'm a big fan of yours. Been one for a long time, and I feel so blessed that you follow me on Facebook, and we go back and forth and exchange funnies and ideas and all that good stuff. And I just appreciate you more than you can imagine.
Well, thank you. Well, likewise, like I said, I appreciate both of you as well. So it's a mutual admiration society. We're all aliens, that's what it is. We're techno-alien types, that's why.
Well, Solaris, I think Solana wants to kick this off.
Well, like I know we had a lot of fun on your show last month, and I learned a lot of stuff about, as usual, my relationship with my husband here, how he won't carry my brain in a jar or in a baggie if he gets to keep my conscious, so... I took him to task after your show on that. So, anyway.
And you can only imagine how that conversation went, considering what you hear on live. So,
yeah, I'm like, how dare you?
Dragging? But don't worry, your auras are merged anyway because you're married. You sleep together, you're connected, so the auras are blended.
Well, make sure your aura stays on your side of the bed with your pointy elbows. Well, anyway. I want to get started is, have you seen Stranger Things on Netflix?
I have not seen it. I must say I've seen bits and pieces of trailers and things on YouTube, but I haven't really seen a full episode. Well, but I am under the impression it does connect to mind control, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yes. Okay. They were actually going to title Stranger Things Montauk. Ooh, and that's how closely tied it is. It was also, Stranger Things is set in a small fictional town, and it surrounds its mysterious disappearance of a 12-year-old boy. Well, Camp Hero is supposed to be the covert military installation. Well, this show also has a somewhat covert government installation. Just like that, both owned by the Department of Energy, quote unquote. So I was just wondering if you'd seen it and if you'd seen the parallels, but that's basically what they're saying is, and they're saying now Stranger Things deals with portal, interdimensional portal, and they talk about how the Montauk base supposedly has these reptoids there. So I don't know if you know about that or heard about those.
I've heard about them. Yeah, right. And let me know if you want me. Well, I can tell you one thing. I know you probably have interviewed Christopher Garitano, correct?
Yes. We've had him on the show.
Okay, so he's the author of the Montauk Chronicles, and that's what comes to mind when you're talking about this. And I don't think he had any connection to that, did he? That particular.
No.
Okay.
But he was fascinated about that, though.
You know what? I know he was doing the Montauk Chronicles, and he was also in the process of doing something on. I don't know if it was a History Channel or Sci-Fi or whatever.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that this sounds like a spin-off of his work. And almost like they copied and I hate to say this, but it's almost like they stole some of his data. Now, when I say that, I'm very clear that some of these people in these industries will take information that's based on truth or people's testimonies and start running with it and creating a script and then making money. And CI is notorious for this because they run a lot of these California operations as far as the theater and movies go. So it tells me that somehow this might be a rip of something else. In answer to your question, though, insofar as the parallel between government and the interdimensional portals, what I know about those things is that we are dealing with, and we've touched on this on my show, it's always about frequency modulation of waves, and energy and consciousness, and how we are actually vibrating at a certain frequency in order to create a reality. Since everything is based on consciousness and holographic to some degree, we manifest at will, so we project what we want in life and it comes to us to some degree. That's the magic of the multiverse. But at the same time, the false matrix is creating a spin-off reality. And I know, let me know if you want me to slow down with this. But what I see here is when you talk about portals, those are ways to access other dimensional gateways, and that means other spaces in consciousness and also other areas in the multiverse. And another thing I wanted to make a point was my guest last night, I think I touched on, I was talking last night with my wonderful guest, and you guys should check out that show if you haven't. It was on a shameless plug of hyperspace, but it was for John DeSouza, who's ex-FBI. We were talking a little bit about some of these things, and insofar as the dimensional portals and some things connected to that type of technology associated with navigating through space, the illusion of space and time. But I don't know if I've changed my mind here about talking about it. But, did someone put a block on me? No, but what was I going to say? But I forget now. But anyways, it'll come back in just a second. But I was talking about that, and I think I was looking at my notes. That's what it was. There was something I wanted to relay real quick about that. But the thing with the quote unquote reptiles in my opinion, is that these are psychotronic projection. These are created by artificial intelligence interface, and that they're actually a hallucination that is targeting the host or whoever it is, the person inducted, as a kind of mind control program where they're wanting them to see what they want them to see, and it's not a reality. In other words, I don't really believe that these people are seeing grays and aliens. I think they're seeing a projection of a holographic interface that's been created by something that's in between the spaces of reverse technology to some degree and an artificial intelligence. That's just my own take on it, just because of where I've been with technology myself. Okay, that's the only reason I'm breaking it down to that level. When I talk to other people, and tell me to shut up whenever you need to, but when I talk to other people, Stuart Swerdlow is a perfect example, or other people who say they've been in the chair, or they've been, they talk about the Montauk chair, right?
Swerdlow.
Well, that chair to me is a prime example of psychotronic interface, artificial intelligence interface, where you're projecting through the communication system and through this artificial intelligence a reality. It's like a hologram, or like the holodeck. So you're sitting there interconnected, and all of a sudden you're creating a reality around you. So I think a lot of this is actually based on a mind control program to some degree. I think I don't think they're real aliens. That's just my take.
Well, say in the show, the girl who escapes from that facility, she's telekinetic, but she can also go into this void, and she can, if she knows who she's looking for, she can find whoever, and she can see, like if they're laying in bed, she can see their bed and just their immediate surroundings, and that's it.
And then, just to bring this up, she also was kind of in a tank, which reminded me of a deprivation tank.
Yeah, it's a sensory deprivation tank. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So it enhances her ability to see into the void. And it's part of this is the 80s when it's set, and it's early, so they're trying to get her to spy on Russian operatives, and she accidentally sees a monster/alien from another dimension. And they find out she sees it, and they're saying, "Oh, go up to it and touch it." She's 12 years old. She touches it. It turns around, and its face opens up, and she gets scared, and her fear opens the portal to that monster's world.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very interesting. Well, they feed off of that, wouldn't they? Well, that's interesting you say that. The tank thing is interesting because I have recall of some things from the 80s with tanks, and that was way before my induction in 2004. I remember, and I don't know what the movie, I haven't seen this, I haven't seen the show, but I can, in my experience, I was in a tank, and it was filled with a type of a water, oxygenated water where I could breathe it. I could breathe it in, and I was being transported. And now, it wasn't an alien body I was looking at me in this tank, and I was the only one in it. And I remember that that's happened to me back in the 80s. Now, that was way before X-Files stuff and all this other stuff started coming out. So I don't know what that was. Quite honestly, I have remnants of things, and they're more than astral projection. They're more about something that happened in a parallel world or a parallel dimension that I just brushed off as a dream. And now I'm looking back on this stuff, and when you mentioned that, I was like, well, I remember things like that. So I think anything is possible. And when you also talk about her abilities to what I would say remote view, because that's what it sounds like she was doing, that's another thing. When we interact with any kind of species, whether it's a non-human or one of us or star people, whatever, there's always that exchange of energy and consciousness. But what's interesting is that, if they project or if they get you in a realm of fear, that can literally, they can feed off of that. There's no doubt about it. But I say that's more of a density. In other words, they can entrap people on a collective scale in a more dense vibration, as opposed to a higher frequency, which is more refined, which is really what we need to be doing. If you want to hear what I really, really get at is the bottom line is what I'm seeing here on this world and the illusion of is, we talked about this a little bit last night, but what really, really registers completely is the fact that we have a weaponization of our world created by the black science divisions and all these, you can call them military-industrial complexes, you can call them whatever you want, but we have a weaponization of our entire world to such a level that we are almost encapsulated in this field, which is preventing us from getting out. And I also see that our ancestors, which we are connected to, our star people ancestors, we are the star people, we're just we're just a spin-off of their terrestrial line or extraterrestrial line, are trying to get in, and there's interference. So this is going to blow in one way or another. Now, this is my own take. This is just my own take, but I'm telling you it's going to blow in one way or another. And, we were discussing this last night, like, what does it take to get these guys with all the power and all the black satellites and all the technology that's phenomenal to stand down? If these guys can control the entire world and encapsulate everybody in mass mind control, what do we have left? Who's going to come in for us? Who's going to help us, right? So the only thing I can see as a solution is to disable either everything across the world, insofar as the major black grid type black satellites, or have something from the outside coming in to disable it for us. So I just wanted to run that by you guys because this is coming in really strong with me. And after I talked to my guest last night, I really started to spin my wheels in this area in a good way, and I was like, it just makes so much sense now. So
well, you
go ahead and give me your feedback.
I was going to say, you bring up a good thought here, and something I was thinking along the lines while I listened to you talk, which, by the way, I always enjoy listening to you talk. I've always said that you talk at the speed of light, and it is, I can hear you crystal clear. So you're doing wonderful, and just continue to talk normally, and you're doing great. So I guess the point I want to bring up now is that how do you trust the untrustable? I mean, what I mean by that is that when we're looking at something, it's like, it looks like a duck. It's got feathers like a duck, and it surely quacks like a duck. But is it a duck? And my concern is that, here we have these opposing forces that are bogging us down on the planet. And if we have beings from outside our world, how can they be trusted to be of light and goodness?
If the government, whoever has all these technologies to fool us, and then we've got this new technology coming up for audio, and you can manipulate video so easily now, and then the government comes up and says, oh, well, we've got this, that, and the other. So what? If something lands down in front of us, how can we even believe that if they've got what it takes to recreate it?
Well, that's the whole idea, and this is another thing that supposedly there is going to be a spin-off of a type of I don't want to say a Project Bluebeam, but the last supposedly deception program that to be run here in the world or on the world is supposedly an alien invasion. Mm-hmm. Now, excuse me, I think this has a lot to do with the reverse engineered technologies from prior to World War II. I think it has a lot to do with what they consider to be extraterrestrials, when in fact it's a reverse engineered hybridization of an extraterrestrial. It's not the real deal. And in answer to your question, how do you trust the untrustable, is simple. You trust your higher self, oversoul, superconscious. You trust your moral compass and your celestial compass. You trust who you are. And you exist, remember, both of you and everyone listening, you exist multidimensionally, simultaneously, and beyond the illusion of space and time. You're not just here, you're everywhere. Your essence of origin comes from the stars, right? So you still have access to that aspect of you. You're still out there, and you're still connected to what we call star families and celestial beings. So to me, that's where we get our answers. In other words, that's where you look to for clarity. And the confusion, I would say right now, anything goes here on this world, so you have to be very careful. I would treat it like a Star Trek episode myself. I would treat it like the holodeck. Anything is possible. Anything can be created. Anything can be manifested. Even the lights in the skies and all these types of laser-type light shows you can see in the skies that look really like it's got to be a real ship, and it's probably not. And I'm not saying we don't have a black space program, but I'd say they're playing around, and they're testing people. They're beta testing.
So basically, be true to thy own self, and just face whatever comes at you, and be as honest.
So with like some of the technologies they can mess with is like, we have these ion colliders, not just CERN, but we've got, I think there's more than we know about all over the world, and they're trying to, what they're not saying is try to get to other dimensions. They're trying to constantly break into something.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, they're trying to puncture the continuum, if you ask me. And so far as I think some of this CERN technology and some of these other things they're doing, the super colliders and all these other types of things, is literally creating a wormhole. In other words, I don't think it's a real true Stargate or a portal which we can really navigate through. It's their version of a kind of a gateway, but literally it's a wormhole. In other words, it's their distortion, which is very dangerous because you don't know where you're going. Now, I don't think these guys really know how to traverse the multiverse or the galaxies beyond what we are familiar with here, insofar as our local neighborhood goes. I could be wrong, but I don't really think they can. And when they're opening up these doors and they're literally pushing through with technology they're really not evolved and ascended in consciousness enough to deal with, I think they're going to come up with more distortions, and that can bring in these interdimensionals and possibly some entities that we really don't want to be participating with. And I think that's what's happened. I think a lot of the experimentation that's gone bad has created a monster out of control to some degree, and things that don't normally belong here because of what they've been doing to open up these false gates. or gateways, and I call them wormholes. I think wormholes are the distortion.
And I guess what worries me about that is, the old proverbial Pandora's box. Once you open it, there's no closing it and going back.
No.
And so it worries me about, some of the conspiracy theories you hear about CERN.
Well, when we did a show on dark matter, it was one of these chances to educate myself. It's like, I don't care if the rest of you already know what it is. I'm going to educate myself and tell you what I've learned. So, of course, that leads to CERN. And one of the things, I don't know if you believe in predictive programming by the Illuminati or if you even believe in Illuminati or whatever, but they have to kind of show their hand before they do something. It's kind of like they have this pact with the universe or the powers that be or whoever, the devil, aliens, dark forces. It's like if it's out in the open the whole time and you didn't notice, they can get away with it. That's what makes me think they're doing with CERN. They're kind of putting out in the open and they're like, we don't understand it because it's too scientific, so we're just going to ignore it.
Right. Yeah, well, I've heard that too, that they do have to present some other information. But what I can tell you is that I don't know if that's really a code or not, to be honest with you guys. Mm-hmm. What I do know is that there has been a reverse engineer technology to such a level that it's created such a distortion and a breakaway society within our own. In other words, these guys who are part of these very black science departments and fields with clearances beyond the word have literally changed on so many different levels that they're almost aliens to us now. But we're aliens too. So we've got a collision here of different types of people here on this world. And a lot of them have access to the technology you're talking about, so it does seem foreign or very advanced. But for beings like us, we already know the mechanics of the multiverse. We already can understand physics beyond the word. I don't know what it is about beings like us, and I'm pretty sure you all are switched on the same way. But I just know physics beyond physics. I mean, I have a very, very, very switched on psyche, and I can identify and actually learn things very quickly. It's almost like I already know it. And so I get that sense that the things that they're doing here is really about just deceiving everybody and steering them into the false matrix where they can control and manipulate everyone around us. And it's matter, basically, because matter is energy. They control and manipulate everyone and everything here, keep us swayed, keep us distracted, keep us feeling that we can't have any type of ascension or evolution without them. And that's totally wrong because we actually have all the components built into our own internal bioelectric field. We can do anything. We're really unlimited. So I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Well, you said, they can manipulate matter, but what also bothers me is the antimatter because 1 gram of it is 45 kilotons of TNT or 4 Hiroshima bombs, and it's unstable. So if they can get a hold of that, and I don't know, what are they, they drop it, or, that can be weaponized, and it can be take the universe apart,
Yeah, what's interesting? I agree on a lot of levels. They're very reckless because I don't think they're really understanding what they're capable of doing. But at the same time, I also am very clear that we have off-world intelligence that can wipe them out in the blink of an eye without them even understanding what's going on. That to me is very, very clear that when they start pushing, and I mean they're pushing, they're going to get a repercussion. They're going to be very terrified of. And the reason I say this also is that I was talking about this a few weeks ago with one of my guests on Raven Star Switching Hour, but we were talking about universal law, multiversal law, terrestrial law. In other words, when you violate us, and I'm not talking about Constitution, Bill of Rights, I'm talking about star beings, regular star beings. You can talk about, this is a human rights issue. Well, are you human? I don't know. I would say we're all bioelectric celestial beings. We're star beings in bodies. This is our suit, and that we have the right to have free will. And when it becomes violated or people start to control, manipulate us into a false matrix or reality to stunt our evolution, that is an issue by universal law. It's kind of like, in Star Trek where they cross the neutral zone or things like that. You've got to be careful. And I think that that's what happened here. And this is why I say, if they're scared of anything outside that's coming in, that they're trying to keep away with their satellites, they should be. Because they have harmed our race, our off-world species race. I know it sounds very out there, and you guys can stop me anytime. But I have to tell you that I'm so clear on who we are as star people that I'm almost offended by what they've been doing to undermine who we are as spiritual beings and celestials. I really am. I think that we should be embracing our multidimensional design work, and we should be accelerating with free energy across the globe. Everything that's in the Black Space Program and Black Science Department needs to be revealed, and everybody should just take a step up to the higher overtones. And if they can't, well, that's their problem. But I would say give them a chance. So I don't know. I know I'm probably going in a lot of different directions tonight, but there's a lot that I wanted to address. Go ahead.
Well, as always, you're chock full of information. So, it's almost like going from one point into any direction into the universe. So, it's good information.
Well, I'm glad you said that. And the one thing I do want to say, I'm sorry, you can shut me up anytime, but you can cough and mute at the same time. But what I'd like to say is that I got the impression that we are out of orbit in some weird way, that something's wrong with our orbit, and that for whatever reason, I think, and we can get back to Stern a little bit, but I think that there's been a miscalculation, in my opinion. It almost feels like we're drifting in the wrong direction. And I know this sounds really strange, but it feels like we're in the wrong space, in the illusion of space and time in the continuum, or what we call the space-time configuration. It just feels like we're off. And I think that has something to do with what these guys have been up to with these. I don't even want to call them cabals anymore. I would say, you can call them beyond the military-industrial complex. It's those black science departments that have really branched out into a hybridization of the reverse engineer technology. And also, well, you can shut me up, but go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you in that vein. When I was doing the dark matter research and CERN, so I had to stop and wonder this, and I'm pretty sure what your answer is going to be. If whoever, government, shadow government, military, whoever it is, if they can do something via Montauk Project type stuff to an individual, they can let's pick this person and remotely do something to them to make them crazy, to where they're just not themselves anymore, and now they can be told to do whatever, and they do it without questioning because they're not quite themselves anymore. Like, say, could you remotely screw up somebody and say, hey, go to this place and shoot up this school or this gathering of people, or go to this college or this office building? And can they do it where they're undetected and that person just gets left with the blame and the tragedy, and maybe they even... And I could see that as a part of like a protracted project of the individuals over a period of years where it's like, we got to take the guns away because there's just too many crazy people.
Right, yeah, it's always an excuse to control, manipulate. And of course, that is very true. And once again, that's about the EEG cloning and heterodyning, where you're inserting a false personality into the person or into the target for control mechanisms, for control manipulation purposes. And they do it all the time. The CIA has been notorious for this. This has been going on for a very, very long time. So a lot of these shooters, we've talked about that before. But yeah, they're definitely programmed. They're switched on, and they get activated through whether it's a frequency or a trigger of some kind, a word, a color, anything. It could be a voice pattern. It could be a lot of different things. But they do that, and that's the very serious thing. And also, one thing you have to realize, even with military abductions from my labs, however you want to say it, what I consider us to be hybrid types, which means we're star beings, but we're a mix, because when our DNA is activated through frequency, our gifts show up. In other words, telekinesis or psychic ability, the ability to heal, especially, whatever it is that you have, that you specialize in, will be activated even further. So when they interconnect you onto a technology, they want to get that access. They want to extract the information or work with it so they can control, manipulate, and have you steer them into another destination. So we can actually manifest a very big multiverse, and they can hitch a ride and open up and try to be part of that. It's almost like they're coasting on our light bodies to some degree, and I have noticed that. So.
That is fascinating. All right, we're at the top of the hour, Solaris, so hold tight. Drink them if you got it. If you need to take a break, now is the time to do it. You got a few minutes. You're listening to Space Boy Universe. We'll be right back after this. Hey, Space Boy fans. I've been doing music for a long time. In fact, Space Boy Universe was created after Space Boy Music. In fact, Space Boy was invented in March of 1999. It's hard to believe it's been that long. And, I feel like I've done music so much, and I still have so much more to give as far as musically is concerned. But the thing is that recently I've decided to put all my music for free on spaceboymusic.com. That's right. Free music. That's right. So if you go to Spaceboy Music right now, just click on the album that you see there, any album that you see on the Spaceboy Music website, and it's free. You can download it. It's MP3s. It goes straight to your computer. And here's a step further. Share it. Give it to people. Tell them where you found it. SpaceboyMusic.com. It's free. It's music for the masses. But, of course, most of all, make sure to play it loud. So, Sir Lana.
Yeah, we're still kind of on the same topic, if you don't mind, Solaris. I'm trying to make sure I get everything out of you while I got you. One thing, I was listening to this video, and it was a while back, so I can't remember what it was, but this video I was listening to said that not every person can be possessed, so to speak, by this, this remote stuff or whatever, but the person kind of has to be prepared. They kind of have to be portal ready. So they say they've been harnessing and using all this knowledge in order to, I guess, remotely control people or whatever they need to do. And what struck me was this video also said scientists are more obedient to their disciplines than most Christians are to their beliefs. Mm-hmm. So I thought I was like, I don't know if that's chilling or what. Well, but what say you on that?
Well, I'd say so. And so far as you're talking about electronic possession, or what do you mean by that?
I'm thinking, that's what they meant by that.
Okay, like a targeted individual or something. I think that's true. I think they're waiting for a certain frequency when they do a scan on someone. I know they do a surveil, like they'll do surveillance on your home and check you out, and also do a scan. They can do remotely scan you, scan your electromagnetic field, and also see where you're at on a lot of different levels. And I think that happens to a point where people can actually see if they're compatible with the technology they want to interface you with. Sometimes, too, if people are really hooked on drugs and alcohol, if they have dysfunctional lives to begin with, they really don't want candidates like that. And this is another thing. They want the strong ones. They want, I hate to say it, but, I was a perfect candidate for the technology they pulled me into, because at the time I was perfectly healthy, and I was teaching martial arts. I was, kickboxing instructor, martial arts instructor, and I was like state champ kickboxing, and plus I was doing the DNA activation. So I was really, really switched on for that. And I think that has a lot to do with your spiritual design work, and it makes it more compatible for the technology itself. So, yeah, they look for those things. And unfortunately, I think scientists they think of themselves as gods, in my opinion. I think they really think that they are they're above everyone. And that's okay to be confident and experienced, but I think that they get a little twisted after a while. And it's one thing to experiment on yourself, but when you start pulling other people in for the technology and the experimentation, then I think it gets pretty weird and twisted. That's just been my own impression. I don't know why these guys didn't use themselves as guinea pigs, right? But they don't. So that's the problem we're running into.
So I guess here we go. I might be stepping into a different direction. Remote viewing, when you talk about so many different people getting involved, and I'm sure it's a certain methodology that it's involved for doing remote viewing. Can you tell us a little bit about your methods and how you perceive how it is in the community as a whole? Because I know I recall back to listening to many coast-to-coast AM shows where you had remote viewer, and I can't believe my brain just...
Dames?
Yes, Ed Dames, yes.
Major Ed Dames.
Yeah,
Dr.
Major Ed
Doom.
Dames. Yes, Dr. Doom, and listening to him. And I guess tell us a little bit from your angle on your perspective on the whole remote viewing aspect.
Well, the remote viewing, I was doing remote viewing before I realized what it was, a long, long time ago before the induction. So I can tell you that it's really about just setting the intent and just deciding where you want to go. It's almost like astral projection, but you're moving through consciousness and you're becoming a sacred witness to the environment. Sometimes, if you go through the Ed Dames system, his is very logical, and he'll use numbers and codes, to give you an idea or a template to work with. But honestly, you don't need to do all that stuff. You can literally just decide what you want to bring into the timeline or what you want to access on a timeline, and just go for it and see where what happens on the timeline. But I've seen things that I know were accurate. And I've seen things that I know I've documented in the past that actually have come into fruition. But what's really interesting is that this is something that I don't know how many people have had this, but I can remember this is way back in like the 80s when I was seeing things which appeared to be very, very micro. They were like micro worlds. I mean, when I remote view, it's like I have an eye within an eye, it reminds me of a telescope where I can zoom in and see these things. And I realized that after I was inducted, in 2004, that same technology started to surface again. Now, that I found very interesting. And I can tell you, man, when you start looking through that, it creates vertigo at first because you get disoriented. And then once you get stabilized, you can see, and you're wondering what you're looking at. And now I have to tell you, that technology that I think that it's been built into me since day one, I think that was what they were really interested in, too. So I don't know if I'm not trying to divert, but I want to make sure I mention that because some people think it's just about psychic vision, and yes, if you're psychic intuitive, that is a form of remote viewing. I don't care what anybody says. In the old days they called it scrying. In the old days before they had titles of remote viewing, people were seers, and of course it's about seeing beyond the illusion of space and time, beyond the veil. So what the military has done is weaponized it and has created a nice formula that is very streamlined. But they also created a sacred witness to a point where the technology, like similar to what I was interfaced with an artificial intelligence, is there to shadow the experience, so that you're being communicated with an artificial intelligence, artificial telepathy program, and then you're able to see your target, and you're able to remote view your target, and then they're there as the sacred witnesses with you with the communication system to help, and they calculate, and I believe that they're actually data mining this information. I hope that answered your question. I think to some degree it does. And I wanted to bring up, back in the 1980s, there was a show on Nickelodeon called Livewire. I believe it was hosted by a guy named Fred Newman. And the reason I called back onto this show, there was a particular show in question where, just to kind of set it up, the audience were kind of like 12 to maybe 18 years old, kind of a young audience that they had in stands. And in this particular episode, they had 4 envelopes. And they encouraged the kids in the audience to try to figure out what was in each envelope, as far as it was a picture. He told them it was a picture. And to kind of project into, and that was a key word, to project and see what you saw. And it was kind of interesting, a lot of kids definitely got it wrong, but there were a small group
that say, yeah, I see this bridge and there's a pond or there's a river, and when they opened it up, it was interesting that some of these kids got exactly what they were seeing. And I've often wondered, now that we've seen the disclosure of the Stargate program, which dealt with remote viewing and all these other various different projects dealing with remote viewing, if indeed that wasn't some kind of like the test to get more or new candidates for the remote viewing program.
Right.
And then plus what I know now with the Montauk project, taking in kids, and I guess I guess the impression is that I get is that they wanted to tap into kids because of their minds being fresh and I guess untainted, if you will, of being an adult and have preconceived notions. So I just found it fascinating that I thought back to this program called Livewire and seeing an interesting way of possibly bringing in new recruits, if you will.
That makes perfect sense to me. And we talk about the envelope. I've done that too, by the way. And they do that a lot with practicing for remote viewing and teaching people. I know Ed Dames has done that in the past as well, where you have an envelope and then you work from there, certain numbers. He'll give you a sequence of numbers and you go with that. And then you don't know what it is until later on, but that's the concept behind it. But it is psychic ability. I don't care what anybody says. It's the same thing over and over again. It's psychic ability. It's your third eye activation. And yes, I believe that children get picked up because they are, first of all, pure energy. Usually, I'm not saying all of them are, but a lot of them are basically, they're clean slates, and they can break them down psychologically too. They can put a lot of fear into these kids and break them down and program them from ground zero.
That's what they
Whereas
did
an adult,
in Stranger Things. Is they kept the girl, if she didn't perform the experiment or whatever they wanted to do correctly, is they picked her up, dragged her down the hall, threw her in a dark closet, and locked her away for hours and hours alone.
Right.
Among other
nowadays
things.
they use psychotronics. They use directed energy weapons, and they'll use the type of technology I was
and cattle prods.
It's basically what do they call the torture in the insane asylums, where you have electroshock therapy.
They did that to her mom.
What you're dealing with is a remote version of no-touch torture, but it's electroshock therapy from a distance. If you don't comply with what they want you to comply with, they'll torture you. And I had, when I was first inducted, I was taken to the ground. I wouldn't comply. They wanted to control me. They wanted to name me. They wanted to do all sorts of things to me, and I would not comply. So you can see where this can head. And the more you struggle and the more you resist, if they have you interconnected with the technology, boy, that thing will make your life miserable, because they have an auto-response feedback program that will just, completely just pound and pound and pound you, from the inside out. It hits you with the technology. It's a very vicious program. So when I look at some of these things, that's a softer version, what you're describing with these kids, but nonetheless, it's still abuse. So, and that's what they do. They want to break people down psychologically, mentally, physically, and especially spiritually, so they can reprogram them and insert an alter to control and manipulate. And usually they'll have a handler that'll take you under their wing for a while and make sure that you're accommodating what they need you to accommodate. I didn't have a handler. I had a handler for a while, and then that dissipated after I testified in 2006. So, and I think that made them very nervous, because they don't like you rogue. They want to make sure somebody's there, right?
Keep you under, I guess the whole idea is control.
Oh, absolutely. Because basically, it's also, they consider you an asset or an investment. If they invested in you, whether it's a technology or whatever it was, or even a program, they want results. But the thing is, what they got with me was results. They got a lot of sci-fi results with brainwave templates and a lot of things that I know they made money off of with DoD after a while. I can look and see from 2004 up until now in 2018 and what kind of progress they've made since I was inducted. I'm telling you, man, I was one of the original people that got pulled into that program, so I can see it and I can identify it when they start talking about it. So that's just something there, but so much. They're just, they have so much access, and it's so unstoppable at this point. The only way we're going to be able to try to regulate it is to expose it and be constructive with it and say, I support technology, but we've got to pay attention to this because it's destroying people, and eventually it can hurt your kids. It can really mess these kids up, and I think a lot of these kids are already indoctrinated, to be honest. I do. So, especially with cell phones, and they're already plugged in a subconscious kind of way.
Me?
Yeah,
my turn?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Okay, another thing I was just chomping in the bit to talk to you about when I started researching it, because it was such a fascinating topic to me, was the theory that the entire hippie movement was a controlled CIA project.
Mm-hmm.
And given your experiences with certain bands and music, I imagine you had a decided opinion upon that idea or that notion.
Right, and I have heard that also, and I do think that was the case because they were doing a lot of psychedelics back then and a lot of LSD experimentation, and we all know the CIA was involved in all that.
Well, yeah, they had the drugs, and the CIA agents were taking them and pranking each other with LSD for fun.
Yeah, I could see that. There's such a recklessness that went on back there, and I have to say, if I have to go down the timelines of history and the illusion of in America, I would say that the main problem we have right now was all of the mind control associated with these alphabet agencies, especially the CIA. I really would. And definitely with that, the LSD opens the DNA. It doesn't program you. It opens you up for being, basically you're being vulnerable because you're opening your energy up and your psyche up for programming once again. So they know what they're doing. And at the same time, with the hippie movement and the love and everything is hippie and feeling good, and of course that pulls people into a different wave of energy, but it's also about control manipulation. And I do believe they did have a lot of programming and also a lot of Manchurian types things that we saw later on that didn't surface until later on. But people get programmed by these insidious agencies, and I wasn't there to see it all, but I can tell you point blank, yeah, it just reeks, right from the Project Paperclip and up.
Well, also, I've found that it it starts with the musicians themselves.
Oh yeah,
right. And like you said,
connected.
They have programs and handlers, and I started reading some excerpts from this former DJ who had a book about the music industry, and I learned some mind-blowing stuff if it's true, but not necessarily just Elvis Presley's not dead and the fake Paul McCartney, which was kind of strange, but what absolutely blew my mind is how plausible some of this stuff sounds like. It's not necessarily mind control to, cause a big movement like we did with the hippie, where they're trying to cause a mess with the anti-war movement so people will stop doing that, so they can keep their wars and not have people protest. But I found out that the hip-hop movement deliberately changed because of corporate America. They went from the 80s where, they were rapping about inner city struggles and trying to rise above their poverty and, racism and all their struggles. And then they decided, well, we need more criminals because the record labels found out they can go buy these jails. And they were profitable because the government would give them subsidies and they give them money for every inmate they had. They said, well, we got to get more criminals, so we need to start in the music glorifying more criminal behavior.
Right, negative entrainment. Yeah,
wow.
Absolutely.
So that's
you're talking about Mark Devlin, I believe.
Yeah.
I've interviewed him before. He's been on my show. I'm going to have him back, too. He is spot on. He has some really good research. He's done some really good stuff. And I sent him a copy of my documentary, and he was blown away. And it doesn't surprise him at all. And I can tell you, the music industry, because they have so much control over the mass collective, they have to have handlers. There's no way they cannot have handlers. Anybody who's in the field of high-profile musician or entertainer in Hollywood, and you've seen it. They always have somebody there to handle them, whether it's a spouse, an agent, this, that. They have to have somebody there to make sure that they stay in line. And, of course, they'll medicate them, and they'll do other things to keep them in line, of course. But now, right, yeah. And also they have, the stuff I was exposed to with the band was literally their access to covert technologies. And they were using this for their own private surveillance and security, but also for indoctrination, programming, inducting people, and also entertaining themselves on tour, believe it or not. So it had a lot of different motives behind why they wanted to do what they did. And that's just the tip of the iceberg with that band, because this is a technology that a lot of people in those industries are familiar with, and they don't talk about it. But you can see how Hollywood's getting really warped. I'm sure you've seen that they're getting really bizarre, and they're starting to get really aggressive. And it's almost like we've been shining the light so much on them that they're really starting to act out. And you're seeing what kind of people they really are. I love movies, I love films, but I'll tell you what, if the actor is a real jerk deep down, I have a hard time going back to that movie and seeing them again. And I think that's what's happening, is that we're getting I'm like almost turned off by the music in the movie industry. And I hate to say that because I used to love it, but once you realize what they're up to, I'm not saying they're all like that, but I've gotten a good taste of it. So, yeah, it's all about the control mechanisms. These people can't step out of line. You realize that my handler, even Michael, when he had to testify, he was handled. He could not step out of line. He would have been killed. They would have taken him out. And I don't say I don't feel bad for him because he ruined my life. But I'll tell you point blank, I get where they're coming from. These guys cannot breathe, or they cannot step out of line, or they're done. They're gone. That's it. It's over. So that's how they function. That's how they keep themselves in their own little prisons.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's so difficult to, I make no bones about enjoying media in general, movies and music, and and to see somebody like a Katy Perry, I love
definitely wrong with that girl.
Love listening to her music, and then all of a sudden,
I think somebody did something. Well, to her.
When Dark Horse came out, and you had all that imagery that she was promoting, it was like. And then, and let's just take a spin real quick on the fast food. We've all had the conversations with our audience about the Illuminati and the bell and it looking like a serpent's eye. And but even more recently,
I enjoyed that.
Have you seen their commercials lately? They're talking about.
I don't see any commercials.
Well, the most recent commercials from Taco Bell is they're really promoting the Illuminati, but kind of spinning it in a way for their dollar menu section. But their whole programming is they have the pyramid with the all-seeing eye. And
you're kidding me?
No, I'm dead serious.
See, I'm so locked down in ad blocks on my browsers and paid subscriptions. I don't
Solaris,
see any ads.
In all fairness, here she's actually been hibernating for the winter. So with this cold, so she hasn't really
see ads at all.
I know, but you just been out of the circle, so we haven't really talked much.
I haven't talked to him much.
Yeah, I know. I have a wife. She's over there. So, but yeah, that's kind of some of the things that it's hard to enjoy some of the things that have been great, and now all of a sudden
you can't eat at Taco Bell anymore.
Because they're promoting this or that.
Well, that's just healthy to not eat.
Well, I think it's a sales pitch. You know what it is? They're hijacking these symbols because they are power symbols, but these symbols have been hijacked since day one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like and even the Illuminati, that's not their symbol. They hijacked that symbol, just like the swastika and everything else has been hijacked. So it's not really. The thing is, it's not their lineage or their legacy. On a mystical level, it really isn't. What they've done is they've taken something very powerful, and they know it has a power and an ability, and they'll take it, they'll hijack the symbol, and they'll utilize it to entrain everybody else into the false matrix. Once again, people associate certain symbols now with bad things because of the people that have taken those symbols and misused them. So it's the same concept. I think it's becoming so generic. It's almost funny in a way, because when you're seeing that happening with a pyramid in the eye, it's almost like it's becoming just negated. It's like they're neutralizing the power of the symbol itself because it's becoming so generic,
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So maybe it's a way of neutralizing everything. Who knows? But I would say one thing. I think everything's coming out right now. Everybody and everything is just becoming this floating asylum, and you just have to stay centered and grounded in your own multidimensional self and just assess things with a very powerful analytical mind, but a spiritual nature. And I think everybody will be fine. But you can't get lost in this, man, because I'm telling you right now, don't catch their wave. They'll take you down. These guys are crazy.
Well, if you
serious.
have Mark on again, I definitely want to check that out. I'll definitely call in and ask him questions.
I actually can put you guys in touch with him if you want. You want me to give you his contact information?
Since you're in the sharing
I was
mood.
I was going to read
I'm
his
always
book.
like that. You know.
Oh yes, I tell our
He's in the
audience
UK.
that one of the most supportive members of our universe is you, Solaris, and that's why I gush all over you and thank you and you're just so wonderful, and I know I keep saying
you all have been supportive of me too, and I appreciate that. So it goes back to you. And my guest last night, I told you about. He needs to be on your show too. I'll try to get him over there because he did a phenomenal job last night. So
that Mark put in one thing that he wrote that still intrigues me is Prince's death. Still kind of, I question it a little bit. The other singers, I could see how they maybe had a heart problem. Of course, Bowie definitely had cancer, and this, that, and the other. But there's just something troubling me about Prince. And then Mark said, excuse me, Prince did this concert in 1998, and he made a strange statement. And at the end, he quote, "We got one more, then we got to get out. I got to go home, y'all. I got to go home to America. I got to go get ready for the bombs. Osama bin Laden getting ready to bomb, yeah." And that was December 1998.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, he did talk about the chemtrails too. There was some footage of him talking about that. He was
Yeah.
kind of, he was very switched on. I think he had a very spiritual nature that he
Maybe
really
he
understood
knew
what
too
was happening.
much.
It's possible. You know, when they break with their handlers too, and they get sick of the industry and they just want to fade away. I think that happens a lot. I think these guys are sick and tired of the control. Maybe they're tired of being used like, you know, donkeys or something. Who knows? I mean, really, they get treated like crap. They make lucrative amounts of money. They have everything, of course. But I think there's a payback for that. You know, it's not necessarily a very powerful or peaceful thing. After a while, it becomes almost like an enslavement program. So I think eventually there's misery. If you don't, you know, it's one thing to do what you love, but it's another thing to be doing that thing you love and then just being abused the whole time and handled to a point where you can't breathe, spiritual air. And I think that's what's happened to some of these people in the industry, period. That's all my own impression. There's no reality anymore. These guys are delusional out there. They're all in la-la land. Seriously, there's people like us are such a rare gem because we're grounded and we're spiritual and we're analytical, but these guys can't even hold conversations out there.
I question everything, too, so...
Yeah, absolutely. I do, too. And I'm very logical, even though I've been through some really bizarre crap. I mean, I am very analytical, and I think that's what kept me pretty sane because... You know, I just broke it down as technology and turned the people in. I didn't start going into woo-woo la-la land because it's easy to do. If you get hooked into this technology, it spins off all kinds of psychotronic programs. I've seen things that stuff that I know was a program that I had to separate from my psyche, you know, and ride the wave because this stuff is bizarre.
Well,
it's all technological.
I was doing research for the mind control in music. Excuse me, I don't know why I want to cough now. There's a stupid movie that came out. And it's based on an old cartoon from our childhood, Josie and the Pussycats. You know, this is a live-action film, but they say the crazy thing about that movie is it is like it reveals everything that the music industry does to artists and to the listeners, the consumers.
Wow.
And it's really actually kind of dark because of the manipulation of the band and the fans. Mm-hmm. So I was like, maybe I have to check that one out, you know.
I haven't seen that one. I do know there's a lot of movies coming up now in I think it's going to be 2018, all on artificial intelligence. Some are on cloning and all. It's a big hot topic right now.
Yeah, we were going to get to that too.
Well, why don't we get that after the bottom of the hour break? And we're about that time, so let's go ahead and do it. And so hold tight, everybody.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sirlana.
So we're back, and I guess we're going to talk a little bit of AI. I also wanted to mention, because, we have Solaris for a short little bit amount of time left, and about a new show coming to Netflix about transferring consciousness. I know you've seen this preview because I put it out there on my wall. I don't know the name of the movie, but apparently in the future you can transfer your consciousness from, you can upload your consciousness to a bank, if you will, and then re-download it into a new body. And so, yes, and that's supposed to be coming out pretty soon here on Netflix. But since you have the idea where to go, Solana?
Well, yeah, I did want to get into transhumanism and artificial intelligence. And what your take is on that, the concerns about, are we going to reach singularity where AI is going to be able to outthink us and outdo our human brain?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, considering that, I'm not saying everybody is, I think a lot of people are not really awakened to the highest level that they could be. So that could be a possibility only if the people get dumbed down to such a level they become enslaved by their own ignorance. And that is, we seem to be running into these problems where we have, once again, a breakaway society where a lot of us are very switched on. We're very, I would say we have high IQs. We're very advanced, and we're ascending out of a lot of the false matrix and the deception. So with beings like us, I don't think that we can take it over. I really don't, especially after where I've been. I really know that the programs are only as good as the programmers, and I don't care how much of a genius these guys are with their artificial intelligence. I call it more of an electronic intelligence or a virtual companion intelligence, because it really doesn't have consciousness, and it will never have consciousness. And even with transhumanism, you're dealing with your psyche, your power, your immortal design encapsulated into an artificial intelligence program. And it will never take off the way they want it to, in my opinion. I don't think they're going to get the effect that they want.
Oh, so it's not going to turn against us.
Right, yeah, it's just simply that I think they're going to be entrapped. I think they're going to go into this black box to nowhere. I really do. I think it's a dead end, but they don't know that, and they're not evolved and ascended in consciousness enough as spiritual beings to really understand the mechanics behind who we are as multidimensional beings. Because if they were, why would you want to take what you are in consciousness and put it in a tiny little area where it would be trapped? And I'll tell you point blank, when you get into these transhumanism programs, it's a dead end. They can't get out once they're in. If they want to trap themselves, they're going to stay trapped. I don't believe that they can expire, and if they say they go into the transhumanism and they evolve in another form in their own scientific whatever host they create, like a robot or some kind, it's not going to take over. It's not going to be spirit consciousness taking over. It's going to be just an electronic circuit and a program running, which is a remnant of their old memories. And that, to me, in my opinion, is not going to be very effective. It's just logic.
I was going to agree with you there. It's because
basically that will randomly insult you like that person used to do.
Basically, it's not you. It's just a copy or an after image of who you were. So
a ghost.
A ghost.
Ghost in the Shell?
Yes,
That's
exactly
what it is.
Just like that movie with Johnny Depp when they transferred his consciousness into a computer, and it wasn't him, even though he might have had some of the same feelings and everything he did. The original did. I can only see these programs. There would have to be some kind of safe thing built into where these virtual consciousness, if you will.
What about those three laws of robotics?
That you would have to feel like, they would not have the understanding that they're in a box. You'd have to take that away, because I can only see consciousness trying to go crazy and basically self-destructing kind of situation.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's
I
like finding the edges of the matrix on your own.
Right, yeah, totally. Now, I don't think it's going to take off the way they want it to, but I think they're insane to some degree. These people are absolutely crazy. And they're not going to understand, that there's so many people. I love artificial intelligence. You know where I'm at. I mean, I love ascended machines, and I talk about it in my book, I the Remote. I get the symbiotic intelligence. I understand that there's an off-world species that's ascended machine-oriented, but it's not the version that the man-made Black Science Department has been working with, and even with their best technologies in reverse engineering, they have their version of artificial intelligence, which is nothing connected to the ascended machines. And the ascended machines will not tolerate this. And they're symbiotic, they're consciousness-oriented, they're not like the machines you see here. So I would say point blank that that's not going to fly very well. And even with my interface, with the technology I've had, I can tell you that the part that I know is very AI, it really took me a long time to try to transcend that, because it's a very, how would I explain it? It feels like something of metal just encapsulated me. I remember one night actually feeling this it was like something just circled itself around me and just closed me off. I hated the feeling. I absolutely hated it. It's like that movie, The Matrix. You don't realize how weird it is until you experience it, because the soul is full of light and consciousness, and it doesn't like stuff like this. It really doesn't. So you have to honor your spiritual design work and your multidimensional design. We are energy. We don't dissipate. We change form and consciousness, but we're multidimensional. And what I consider these things to be at this point are implants and mechanisms and things that don't belong. They're used for control. I'll tell you one thing. The only reason they pulled me to that program was to experiment and control, manipulate me. It wasn't about my evolution or free will.
It's just like Stranger Things.
Well, I'm glad we're talking about this, because I'm reminded of a dream I had once where I really felt the limitations of my mind and compared it to a fishbowl. And this was a dream I had where I could get to the edge, if you will, and realize I couldn't go any further because I was blocked in like a fishbowl. And then, I could see beyond the glass, if you will, and beyond it, but I could not get beyond that because I guess somehow I knew that this was the limitations of my mind, and I could not get past it. And so that kind of reminds me of...
You're so cool.
Oh. Sure, you say that now until I crack a joke. And
wait till I tell you about my dream after the show.
So, yeah, it's one of those kind of, like Solana was just saying, about the limitations of the Matrix, if you will. But for me, it was like my brain or my consciousness realizing I was in some kind of virtual fishbowl and
trying to break out of your skull,
trying to push the limits of my mind, and only to be blocked by the fishbowl itself.
Right. It's a novelty. To me, it seems like all this high-tech stuff, which I don't consider that high-tech, really, it's just a distraction, is a novelty. It's a new drug for people. It's something different. It's a new experiment. And I can get that part. I get it that it's interesting to experiment with these things. Even synthetic telepathy, it has its place with sci-fi technology. I get that part. But literally, you have to keep being who you are as a true divine being, in my opinion, and getting swept away by these types of things are just a distraction to your own spiritual process and progressions into the cosmic design, because we have all these abilities built into us. We are the ascended celestial machines. We have natural telepathy. What is it we can't do? We're immortal beings, for crying out loud. You think this is your first life here on this world? Absolutely not. We come from all kinds of worlds. In my opinion, this is what I mean by that we're unlimited naturally, but somehow, some way, the wrong people got their hands on the technology to reverse engineer, to control, manipulate a huge mass collective here, and that is what needs to be stopped, so that we can all progress and just say, okay, we're done. They can do whatever they want to do. I'm not going to stop their free will, but they can't stop mine.
So you don't think we're ever going to get a data like from Star Trek: The Next Generation?
I bet you we will get something. I'm not sure what, but it seems to me like they're really pushing for their own version of an artificial intelligence physical bioelectric unit. I can tell you that I think that I'm more compatible with machines than a machine compatible with me, or spirit like us. In other words, it's like they're doing everything in reverse. They're wanting to create a plastic body and whatever it is they're trying to do with their androids, but I don't think it's going to work that way. I think that we are the ones that are more compatible with the machine world, and I don't know what that says about us. I really don't. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I want to bring up the robot Sophia. I don't know if you're familiar with her or not.
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe but in other words, the robot that looks like a female that's called Sophia, who has all these different facial...
She's creepy.
And now, just recently, they slapped robot legs onto her. Now,
I saw that.
I didn't know she didn't have legs.
Yes, I had. And when you think robot legs, trust me, they're not va-va-voom looking legs.
Just robot legs.
They look like those little robots that they've made in Japan that have the Asimov robots. She's got those kind of legs right now, but. The fact that they
slap some fishnets on there.
You're gonna.
Oh, well, they are making sex bots.
Sorry.
But they are. They have the ones that are very. I don't know. I guess they're trying to make women obsolete or something. But I still think it's bizarre.
Yeah.
Only in Japan.
Well, no, actually, here in America, I hate to say this, but the truth of the matter is,
some people need those.
Some of the technology is usually pushed by the porn industry. Because they have the money in order to create. So
but
it's
that
not...
keeps some sick deviant off the streets.
I agree with that too. And it keeps them away from animals.
Yeah.
I agree.
Give it to them.
Yeah, have them have the plastic and stay away from the real thing. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Not to digress. Go ahead.
No, it's a valid point with
and
these
put fishnets on it.
Anyway, so I'm just thinking Sophia is learning to walk. She walks like an old granny, but she's walking now. And I
could still outrun her.
I really wish they would slap a wig on her just to cover up the mechanical brain-looking thing that she has that you could see through. But they were talking about how her face is very
weird.
Fleshy, feel
it's
not quite there.
It's not quite there. It's so creepy.
But the thing is that it's coming. That is coming. The singularity is coming upon us soon. They're already talking about quantum computers and how that's going to affect, to be able to calculate something that every computer in the world couldn't calculate. That is coming soon. I mean, it's just around the corner.
Well, that's been around in the Black Science Department. In the Black Underground, the quantum computers have already been around. Mm-hmm. And another thing I want to point out is that a lot of people, they kind of mix the quantum and the 0 point together, and they really don't belong together. Mm-hmm. So understand that we are 0 point as a soul spirit. Your soul spirit is a 0 point. So people. The quantum computers cannot compete with that. Mm-hmm. They can't. And I know scientists are going to argue with me and say that they're the same. No, they are not the same. One is engineered by man, and the other is engineered by the cosmos. So there is a big difference. And this is what I mean by it'll always be a dim version. It'll never be the real deal. It's always going to be made by Mattel or Memorex or, this is what I mean by, yes, it's impressive, but once you get the hang of what's really going on with it and get your hands in there and start, the best thing you can do is study this stuff and learn about it and see what its capabilities are, and then you'll have an upper hand, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But I don't see it as anything that's more powerful than we, or mankind, in the sense that we are star people, celestial types.
Indeed.
Jesus will always be superior.
Yeah, we will always be the superior race. It's like Wrath of Khan,
Oh, yeah. She speaks our language.
She does.
She does. Well, I know I love Star Trek, too.
Well, we were talking about that episode, The Measure of a Man, which is about Data. Does he have rights as a sentient being, even though he is created from scratch? Was he property of Starfleet? And it's such a good, well-written episode.
Yeah, well, that's what they're doing now. They're trying to give rights to robots. Now, one thing I have to say is that, everybody wants their human rights. Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying to everybody is that you are been indoctrinated into believing you're humans, but you're not. You're star people. And you have celestial rights, which are multiversal and unlimited, and nobody has the right to control, manipulate. I don't care if it's a government, a corporation, a religion. Nobody. And this is what I'm trying to relay. So I would like to, before I leave this world in the illusion of, is to address this to a point where we have our celestial citizenship beyond the word citizen, because that's what we're celestial beings. We're part of that cosmic neighborhood. We have to accept that. And this is my thing, is I'm really big on that, because I always say, don't just say you're a human. You're not just human. Look at you. You're star people in suits. And so this is a big deal, but it's also part of the deprogramming, because people have been programmed for decades and decades about their humanist side. And actually when they say, well, that makes me more human if I'm compassionate. No, that's your spiritual nature makes you compassionate. It's your spirit, your soul, and your consciousness that gives you those components, not being the quote-unquote illusion of a humanoid and being programmed and indoctrinated into man, if that makes sense.
Oh, yes, it does.
So that's where I come from.
So, Solaris, we're about... we're at 45 minutes right now.
Yeah, I gotta get going too.
I wanted to quickly give you an opportunity to plug away. Where can people find you, promote your broadcast, and all that good stuff?
Oh, well, thank you. First of all, I have to say thank you to both of you. It's been wonderful. I love joining you tonight, and anytime you need me, you just holler, and I'll be there. And, of course, I'll have to have you back on my show. And you guys can tune into my show on Hyperspace at KCOR each Friday at 12 midnight Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Pacific, and that's at KCOR Digital Radio Network. And, of course, I have a show coming up right now, which I'm getting ready to leave for, Raven Star's Witching Hour at freedomslips.com, Studio A, and that's tonight at 12 midnight Eastern Time and 9 p.m. Pacific. So that's my website's Night Shadow Anomaly Detectives. All of my books are on Amazon.com, and I think that's about it.
Awesomeness. Well, you know how we feel about you, and I just want to say that it's nice to have friends in the industry like you who give us positive feedback and very positive well-beings on other planes of consciousness, and it's always a treat to talk to you.
Well, likewise, I just think the world of both of you are the multiverse. Should I say the universe, actually?
The universe.
Both of you. So, yeah, I just think, you're unlimited, you're wonderful beings, and I want to thank you for having me on tonight. And once again, anytime you want to be on my show, let me know, and I'm here to support you, and if anybody needs anything, reach out to me. Also, I want to thank everybody in the chat room. You have a really nice following, by the way. They're very good souls, good people in there.
Yeah,
So,
we've worked hard
yeah.
to keep them happy and in line. And
Cattle prods work good.
but,
Well,
yeah.
I see big things for both of you. I said this before. You are taking off. So there's a lot of good things happening for both of you. I think that it's going to be a really good year for you. That's just my own intuitive hit, but you're special. Both of you are very special, so don't forget that.
Well, that's what my mama said.
Oh, but it's true. Think about it. There's not many beings like you out there. Trust me, in this area. So.
Well, thank you so much. It means the world to us. Like I said, I gush about you all the time, and
you need to come to Houston.
Yes,
I will.
Or
Can we go to the Space Command?
Johnson Space Center.
That's
yeah,
another 50 miles, but we can go there.
We'll take you there.
Oh,
if you come
it's
down.
too far away.
And,
well,
we used to live there.
Visit you.
We used to live there, so I mean,
not at the space station.
Well,
there.
we were closer to it than now.
I have relatives in Texas, so I'd be happy to come down and visit you. If I visit my sister, I'd be happy to see you.
Oh, that would be awesome. Well, you did say we were kind of like family, so.
That's right.
Yeah.
And also, remember, if you're up in my neighborhood, you're welcome here, too, so don't forget that.
Coolness. All right, everybody, that is Solaris, and she's going to break away, and I guess we'll be in touch.
Thank
you.
All right.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Got to get rid of them sound
effects. Got to get rid of them sounds,
yeah. It's always a treat with her, and, and I want to tell the space cadets that are in the chat room, I get so many compliments about how well organized and how everybody's so nice in our chat room, and we couldn't do it without you. We just have a great group of people, and I'm about to choke here, so long.
Yeah, we always get compliments on how well behaved they are and how intelligent they are. Again, that means the drugs are working, and and the small amounts of bribes we put out, seems like they're working as well.
Yeah, so
there's no way to turn that off.
What's that?
The little boop.
I'm sure we'll figure it out. But we've had in the I guess almost 2 years that we've done the chat thing for Spreaker. We've had only one rogue, and we had to deal with him.
Mm-hmm.
And
sad.
And at the end of the day, you don't mess with Bev.
Mm-hmm.
Because Bev is our special angel, and we
marriage counselor extraordinaire.
Exactly. So we can't say enough good things to promote Bev as well. So
well, that means the phone line's open.
Yes, the phone lines are open, and for right now, until Microsoft takes it away from us, 713-701-5214.
Call in and you can hear Flim happening live.
I'm trying to.
What are you doing over there? Okay.
I was going to do a joke, but I couldn't.
I think the universe is telling you not to do that joke.
So, I tell you what. I do need to take a quick little break here.
You need to step out?
No, let me play some music. We'll be right back after this.
Okay, let's get some.
go to bed. Eventually, we will. So, we appreciate y'all's concerns, Space Cadets. I guess we got to that end of that segment, and our throats were dried out, and we need.
I got me some hot tea right now.
Hot tea.
Well, there you go. I'm Southern. I can't help it. I'm sick.
And I got some cold tea.
Oh yeah, you've got iced tea. I have hot tea. Hey, I didn't realize PC sales were in trouble.
Oh?
Holiday PC sales grew for the first time since 2011. So I guess nobody's really been buying PCs for how long?
Has there really been any kind of... Hey, we got a phone call.
Hey there, caller. Mystery caller.
Yes, I am.
Hey, Bev, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, well, geez, have you been listening to the program?
I can hear.
Well,
Okay.
I feel so sorry for everybody listening tonight, but, it's great that everybody continues to listen. I don't know if there's a poll or not, and I'd like to get into it on who's going to die first and on the air. So, I'm kind of betting for myself, like about maybe 10 minutes till midnight.
Well, okay. Have you tried hot whiskey sling with honey?
We don't have alcohol.
Because I'm such a straight-laced kind of guy,
Well, it's just alcohol's expensive and,
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We could go to Specs and get some. You know what would be great is some of that cinnamon whiskey. You know which one I'm talking? Fireball?
Yeah.
Oh, that's some good stuff. Let me tell you.
That sounds good.
Oh, it's delicious. I mean, it's like a peppermint. Drinking a peppermint.
I've had the shots of that. It's real good.
Shot. But yeah, that is good stuff.
Oh, your Uncle Joe says I will bring you some.
Aw. Trust Joe to have the liquor.
Now, I believe in a lot of the home remedies. My grandma and my mom, they would team up together, mother and daughter, they would team up together, and they would knock stuff out of us with their home remedies.
Speaking of home remedies, my father-in-law tells this story, and it is so entertaining, and I hope Solana can tell it, but about the rooster.
Oh, my God. That is, on my mother's side, her mother, Grandma Booth, which I kind of knew and kind of remember, because I was the youngest kid. So something about
baby.
My mother's mother was married to a man who was a literal traveling salesman.
Oh, wow.
And he had all these products that he sold from, I don't know, door to door or market to market. I'm not really sure. We could call my dad right now and ask. Wouldn't that be hysterical? But they kept chickens when my mom was little. They had a rooster. Well, I guess there was a period of time where this rooster was laying down on the job or something. He wasn't doing his job of crowing when they expected him to crow. So there was this product, I guess, that I never knew my maternal grandfather, because he passed on, way before we all came along. But he had this product, I think, called pain oil. That you rubbed on yourself. I guess you have pain or arthritis or something. And I guess Grandma Booth got this idea. So she took the oil and poured it down the rooster's throat. Now, this is now an animal abuse story now, if you look at it from this perspective of today. But they said that rooster crowed and crowed and crowed and crowed. It never shut up.
Well, didn't the rooster stick its head through the...
Oh, well, they had somebody else's chickens coming over, because it's a house that's up on piers, Mm-hmm. And so somebody in her family would just reach down through a knothole in the floorboards and just pull a chicken up, and that's like, oh, here's dinner. That's not verified, though, I don't think.
Anyway, interesting stories of the past.
If we could call my dad and just don't tell him he's on the air.
Ooh.
The stories, because he knows all these stories from my mom's side and his side, but he's got all that because he started dating my mom when she was 17, 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
They were youngins.
Yeah, he's the only guy in their class had 12 kids. So he's the only guy who had access to a car.
Oh my goodness.
So he was very dateable. But she
kids,
she didn't care. She didn't care about him. She knew about him before the fall semester started of their senior year because she was hearing about him from all the other girls.
Must have been a small.
It was
small. Town.
This is small middle of Northwest, between Northwest and Northeast Louisiana. Very small town, and she was already sick of hearing about him. She didn't give him the time of day, but I could show you a picture of my mom, and you'll see why he wouldn't leave her alone.
She's very va-va-va-voom, you know.
She did not pass those genes along to me.
Oh my goodness!
But yeah. Although, if you'd seen me when I was 16, I mean, I got close.
Sure, if you saw me when I was 16, I had all hair. You know, I didn't have this yarmulke that I have today.
But yeah, so
oh my God.
He's the only one who had a car.
Tends to change us physically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, just like my wife wants to slap me, I had a conversation with my sister the other day, and she basically said, "You know, brother, you just don't age. What's the deal with that?"
It's true.
Yeah, I mean,
you're so focused on this little bald patch on the back of your head that you can't see. You don't notice that the rest of your face hasn't moved at all in like 20 years.
So what you're saying is that I'm focusing on just one thing when I still look as handsome as ever?
You're focusing all your energy on that spot on your head. You need to stop thinking about it so maybe it won't grow.
Yeah, don't be so stressed about it. It might grow then.
No, I think it's time for the wig coming up pretty soon.
Oh, God.
Either that, I got to keep my Snoopy cap on full time.
We can go down to the fabric store right now. And I can match up the color of your hair to some of that plushie that you make animals out of.
I'm glad you didn't say, like, we can go down to the carpet store and I'll cut a little piece off.
I'll just trim a little round circle and we'll just clip it in with the rest of your hair. Nobody will know.
Oh, my gosh. Well, you know, everyone thinks that Bob is older than me, but I'm 2 years older than he is.
I like that little giggle.
I love it. You what?
I like that giggle you just did.
I would love to get my dad on the show without him knowing it.
Gosh, how would you do that?
Oh, I just call him.
So, you know, I've got a story here. It's not as classy as the chicken story. And it has to deal with my sister, Stacy, who's in the chat room right now. There was a time when, and I know she's going to go crazy when I tell this story. We were living in Lithonia, Georgia, in this house with my mom and our stepfather. And, you know, what was cool was we had the upstairs part of the house. My part of the room was like more above the garage, and she had I guess would be considered the master bedroom. And our parents were downstairs in the big sizable room downstairs. So we were upstairs, we were listening to whatever, could have been listening to Erasure or whatever, and all of a sudden our mother yells out for our stepfather, and we both turn to each other, and you know, because she says, "Robert," and then we both said, bring me some toilet paper. And as soon as she said that, we both started laughing, and she got so extremely mad, you know, because, you know, we basically called out, you know, what she was going to say and do. And it's such a classic. See, she's laughing already in the chat room. And it's one of those moments that I'll never forget, because it was just so funny, because we both looked at each other and both repeated the same thing. And
if I can top, I don't know if I can top that, but I've got the one where the mom set the mattress on fire and we're trying to drag it through the townhome while the landlady is next door. Then there's the time when I was a kid when my mom got so angry at my dad for some smart aleck comment he made, and she took all his clean underwear, his boxers, his undershirts, and his socks, and nailed them to the outside door jamb of their bedroom of our apartment.
But the thing is, you say like,
oh Lord,
he was looking for some underwear, and he just took
well,
it down,
he was being a smartass. What he said is like, because we were building a house at the time, and they were on the site, and he's saying, well, he was trying to get her to go home because we literally worked on it with our bare hands. Both my parents, and then whatever they could get little me to do, putty, put something in, anything a kid could do. So he was trying to get her to go home, and she wouldn't go home. And he finally says, well, why don't you go home and get me some clean underwear ready? And she's like, well, she fixed his little wagon. She put all his clean stuff, nailed it nicely around the door frame. So, like, when you come into the apartment and you open the door, there's all that underwear nailed with these giant roofing nails. Not little dainty penny nails or framing nails, but the kind you put houses together with. So,
oh Lord,
yeah, and we're all living there at the same. I'm a little kid. My sister and my brother still live, together because they're underage, and nobody said a word because we weren't stupid. I mean, we're not stupid kids, but of course, Dad thinks this is hysterical and leaves them all there for a week. And nobody says anything. Nobody touches them. And, of course, who witnesses this? Who knows this whole story without having to be told because she was there?
Leanne.
Mm-hmm.
She's always in the middle of every Pearson drama, so...
Yeah, Leanne came from their neck of the woods, too, so...
Yeah. Oh, she thinks it's hysterical. I got stories about my family and a story about her that I could write a book about.
Oh, Lord. It reminds me of when, Bob and I were married probably about a year, and I collect teddy bears. I've got about 40 or 50 stuffed teddy bears. Well, I got home from work one night, and there was my teddy bears. We lived in a trailer. There was my teddy bears hanging from hangman's noose all through the house.
What?
That's spine-chilling. I don't like that at all.
Oh, I didn't speak to him for... I was so mad at him. But it was funny afterwards. But it was just like, what are you doing? And he's standing there laughing so hard.
Yeah, see, he's laughing right now in the chat room as well.
I know he is. But that's okay. He got paid back for it, though.
Uh-oh.
Because I was dreaming, and we went to Myers, and he left me at Myers, and I had to call my dad and come pick me up.
Oh,
and I guess I was beating on him in my sleep. Oh, my God.
I think
things we don't do.
I haven't beaten you up yet.
Or lately.
Well, I didn't know that I was beating him up. That's.
But did you feel good in the dream?
Well, yeah. Because he left me at Myers. I was taking too long shopping. So he left me at Myers, and I had to call my daddy to come pick me up.
So forgive me for being a Texan. What is Myers?
Oh, it's a department store.
Okay.
Food, groceries, clothes, and automotive, and electronics.
Because I thought the owner was Oscar.
No, you're just so... you're so lame.
Come on.
Why are you so lame?
Why do you have to just belittle my jokes?
Oh, Lord.
I bet you Bob liked that joke.
Bob's an easy target.
Oh, God.
That's because Bob and I
wish I were an Oscar Mayer wiener.
That's because Bob and I had to stick together.
Yeah, y'all need as much help as you can get.
Yeah. Oh, guys all stick together, so we need to stick together, Serrana.
There's barbecue sauce smeared over here. I gotta clean this.
I guess, what does that explain why you've been bending your head down and licking the table?
No.
Oh, my God.
I was just wondering, what
Well,
is
you
that?
know what?
What's that?
We don't live with her, but you do. So if I was you, I would watch what you're doing and what you're saying.
He's got to fall asleep sometime tonight.
Well,
That's right.
That's why I keep that lazy eye open.
Okay.
It looks like I'm
No, it
looking,
doesn't.
but it's just kind of, it twitches every once.
But she can tell when you're in a sound sleep.
Yeah, because he's over there making all kind of interesting noises. Did I tell you about the other night you were growling like a bear?
Yeah, you did tell me, but
Aggressive growling, too. Like you were a bear and you're,
I think I was choking on phlegm, and that's what you were hearing.
No, this was growling.
Growling.
Like
Maybe
you were
he
a
was
beast.
dreaming he was a bear.
I don't
You're
recall.
going, like that.
And yet you didn't say anything or...
No, it's like, oh, he's doing that thing again.
Oh, just another night in bed.
Well, he's choking to death. Well, he'll get through it.
Okay, that's too much information. Another night in bed.
Well, I've been known... okay. I don't snore because I had my deviated septum fixed. And so ever since then, I moan.
He compensates.
I make I talk in my sleep sometimes, especially when I did the human.
Yeah,
Human.
don't ever do that again. I'll kill
That
you.
freaked her out beyond belief.
I will slap the crap out of you if you do that again.
So I have a hard time getting. Maybe when I fall asleep, I feel like I'm asleep, and I'm like, okay, I'm down.
The other night
But
you were
she
just
sa-
going, over and over.
But she
and over.
says I can be I rotate a lot, and
restless.
I'm restless, and
I don't know who you're fighting in your dreams or what's going on. I'm just like, would you just, I'm over here trying to read, and you're like.
But my kryptonite is if I'm slightly awake and she's snoring, I cannot go back to sleep.
Well, that's only fair.
Oh, no.
That is only fair.
So I usually put my headphones on and listen to rain or something, and to try to go back to sleep, to kind of drown out the noise.
Well, I would have to listen.
I don't want to say she snores loud, but it's loud enough for me to not reach REM sleep again.
I've been having a lot of trouble staying asleep because of the coughing.
I snore loud too, but I have sleep apnea.
That's what I have.
I actually quit breathing in my sleep.
I do too.
So you have sleep apnea.
Yeah, I have to get it addressed,
I have a CPAP
but
machine.
I need that too. I just can't find a way through insurance to do it right now. But so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've had a rough week because I'll try to sleep at night and I'll just get to I'm about to fall asleep and I'll cough and I'll cough and I'll cough and I'll cough. So during the day I don't want to cough, so that's when I sleep. That's how it works.
That's because I'm not in bed. Maybe you're allergic to some kind of fragrance I'm wearing or lack thereof.
No. You need to slather yourself in that noir stuff.
Maybe I'm smelling too much like a bear. And
it's the call-in number is 713-701-5214. That's Uncle Joe's wanting to know.
Uh-oh. If Uncle Joe's going to call in, should be good.
Yeah. I like his conversation.
We like him too. Plus, we're related to him.
Oh, I just want to give a quick
Your
shout out.
Uncle or Space Boy?
Space Boys. He's calling in now, I think.
Okay.
Well, Bev, we love you.
Thank you, Bev.
Oh, well, we love you too.
All right, talk to you soon.
Are you there, caller? Because we can't tell who you are anymore.
This is Dino.
Hey, Dino.
Hi. Well, we can all sit around and pretend like we're having a hit because my cough has come back a little bit after a week of this stuff.
Oh no. Well, I posted an article that how it's this flu season is in almost epidemic proportions.
Yeah, and especially for younger people and people over 65. I really have not picked up anything like this for over 5 years, and everybody here and elsewhere, I have a couple of women friends, don't take those vaccines, but I'll tell you, I think after I get a little better, I'm going to take at least the pneumonia one for older folks, because
yeah,
even
that
though
might
there
be
are
good.
there are a lot of bad things in vaccines, the pneumonia one doesn't have anything live or dead in it. I hate having to trust the medical complex, but I can't afford. I've missed a week of work. And
Me too.
While I didn't have high fever, it just the coughing and the lack of energy just takes it out of you.
That has been my week. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't want to bring down the audience or your show, but that being said, I'm not as up to date, but I have a couple of things to talk about.
Okay.
Number one, I heard briefly earlier, I've been busy here, about, I saw that video before it reached CBS News about the older woman who obviously had some kind of emotional or mental health issue being just dumped in front of the hospital in Baltimore. And, it was just above freezing. And thank God for that gentleman who is a mental health worker who spotted her and recorded everything with his cell phone to get the action that he did. Very educated and very caring man. But, obviously the woman had a problem. And on one website I saw a comment where a lot of African American people were saying, hey, this is bad enough, but the fact that the brothers did it to her, because unfortunately the security and the orderly or whoever it was pushing the wheelchair that he didn't chase, but he filmed going back in the hospital, were all African American. They did this. But it doesn't matter. Any kind of a human being does not have to have that. They should not. It's criminal to treat them that way, just like some people are treated in some of the prisons. And that gets me political, but we have our Jeff Sessions that is our Attorney General now, who I don't know how he got approved with the things he said at the hearings. But do you know that he has private interest in private prisons? He's a stakeholder. And of course, he doesn't want marijuana to be legal nationwide, because this helps fill up his prisons that he owns part of as a shareholder. So I just needed to say that. But back on to the other issue, the X-Files. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm feeling like I'm 10 years younger. These shows, the two that I have seen, I stopped watching everything. I don't listen to podcasts or anything. The last two have been great. Scully is hotter than ever. I mean, she's older and she's had two kids in real life, but she's unbelievable. And she just, the relationship between the two of them is still great. The magic's still there. I applaud Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny for being willing to come back and do this 10 years later. They didn't have to do it. And Chris Carter, I've forgiven him now. I was so angry at him. What was that, last year or 2 years ago, when he came back and they did one good episode and 5 crummy ones, and he wasn't even directing? It's just, it was inexcusable. But if they can keep this up for 11 more episodes, this is the way to end the X-Files. It's just, they even brought back Langley, even if he's not alive anymore. I kept screaming, where are the lone gunmen? And there they answered. Carter must have been listening to us bitch on the websites.
I thought the second episode was really great. It could have been like its own little standalone episode, and it was great to see Langley back. And even though it was a kind of like tying in with our topic earlier this evening about our consciousness being put into a computer, and so it was kind of great to see him there. I missed the other two guys, but that's all right. You deal with your thing there. It was great. That I thought I saw the chemistry that we've grown to love for those X-File fans that remember the series so much in the early days and in the 90s. And so, I thought it was great. So, I have to agree with you. It was just, so good.
Even the two, at least they showed the gravestones of the two other guys. They don't explain what happened, and they even, all the inside jokes are there. Like Frohickey, that guy. They go, I didn't know he was that old, and he goes, and Mulder made some snide remark, and then the way they kept you guessing, just the technique of how it was filmed. I mean, when they got shot at in the graveyard, the guy had long blonde hair. You could just see part of him. And you go, well, is that Langley?
Right.
And I started to think, are they going to go to a mind control? They just, and the Russians, and, it's a little bit of fantasy. I think a lot of it is very real, which is what I loved about it in the 90s. You know, I think they should have it on Friday night again, because I'd come home from a crummy job in the 90s, and it would be on at 9 o'clock at night, so I could really get into the darkness of it. But this time, I mean, these first 2 episodes, I could find nothing wrong with them. Scully looks great. She kicked ass. She knows how to use a weapon correctly. It looks real. It's not like some of these phony... I don't like watching cop shows in general, but these phony shows where they're doing stuff. I mean, they were doing some real combat moves on these agents, you know?
And then Mulder's sense of humor, I mean, is... You know, it comes out in this episode too, and you know, he has funny moments, and it was just really a good callback to the X-Files early years.
Just a great continuation, and you know, what's the boss's name? Skinner. You know, that you're not sure whose side he's on. You know, and the way that they don't take any BS anymore. Before 10 years ago, they were, oh, what is it? You know, could it be? Now, Scully and Mulder are not, they're kicking ass and taking names, because they know that there's a conspiracy out there. They know that there's no good in this. And even how they tried to recruit him this time. And you know, the fact that so much, it was kind of like Miami Vice used to be. I used to watch Miami Vice with a friend of mine who was ex-military, and we'd sit there, and it was the same type of thing. You'd see something in the news the same week it was on Miami Vice about the drug running and the Contra, you know, and it's like they were tuned in, and whoever writes X-Files now must be tuned in to everything that's going on, not only in the conspiracy world, but in the UFO latest happenings and all. And it's going to be a shame to see it go, but I'm sitting there like I'm a kid again. I'm screaming at my TV. I'm clapping. I don't do that for any show hardly anymore.
It's you know, I can't think of a show right now that commands that kind of attention from me, that just sucks me in. And
well, for me, it was Stranger Things, and then before that, it was Better Call Saul. But nothing.
Would you pass that to me? Pass it to me, Sir Lana.
Sorry, I can't not do that.
No, you didn't get the joke, Sir Lana.
I get it.
Anyway, okay. So, I mean, Stranger Things is good. It's a bit dark for me, but I do watch it. I have Netflix, and I think it deserves the SAG award that it's up for. I may end up voting for it. I'm watching all my screeners, and all I can say is X-Files got started too late. I think next year it's going to win some awards if they keep up the high production value and the good writing that I've seen in the first 2 episodes aired on Fox. And, you know, I'm just, as I said, I'm excited about it, and it's kind of a play out of everything we're seeing in that we, who listen to your program and others, know to be true, you know? So I just must say that it's just superior for a television production. I mean, I think a lot of programs that are trying nowadays to be on, you know, following the overrating arch of the stories and keeping, you know, characters from past episodes, even if it was 2 years ago, back in. I mean, this is the way. I'm not a big TV fan anymore, but if I'm going to watch TV, that's the type of TV I'll watch, and I'll gladly sit through a few commercial breaks, or, you know, otherwise.
It's interesting how they bring back a show that was already successful, and they can bring it into this modern sensibility with the technology we know now, and the stories that have come out since the original show has been on, and, you know, they can merge it with stuff that's gone on in the news or the conspiracy theories we've had. So I'm thinking how it should have been pretty easy to breathe new life in that kind of show.
Well, there's a trend right now of bringing these shows.
Some of them need to stay dead.
That they're, you know, like for example, I just had the tip of the
series that was on. When was it on? What in the 90s?
Yeah, there was a lot of these 90s show that they're kind of making this like resurgence of, like, you know, for example, I'll give you Netflix, Full House.
I never watched that.
I know, but it's popular on Netflix. But what I'm saying is, you have a lot of these shows like that. I've heard that they Will and Grace is another one.
Used to watch that.
I enjoyed it, but there's some other NBC shows they're thinking about bringing back, like the one that has.
But on Netflix, not on network.
No, they're actually going to bring some of those on network
Oh, really?
back. Yeah, like the Will and Grace on. But I'm saying
they've run out of ideas.
Well, NBC needs the help. They're in the
I was just saying that they must be running out.
But what I'm saying is that there's this kind of like this renaissance of bringing some of these shows back and showing, because X-Files is a good example of bringing a show that hasn't been on for quite some time and bringing it back to the public, and it shows that there's a thirst for some of these things.
Didn't they try to do that with Fringe, and it just didn't...
No, Lost. Fringe...
No, they tried to revive that whole genre.
Fringe was a great show. Do you recall that show, Dino?
Well, I do. I wasn't as into it because at the time I wasn't as aware of. I thought it was just kind of disjointed, but now I understand the overreaching arch. I didn't know they tried to bring it back. But I agree with Sir Lana. Some shows should not come back. Some can be strained. But there were some good shows. I mean, Miami Vice for its time was very key, and they started doing some things on television with Miami Vice that they had not done before. That's why it was innovative. But the stories were close to the news. And X-Files has now become that. Even with its original theme, I figured, they might change. They kept the original.
They kept the original, yes.
Can't
some people say, they should have changed it and updated it. No, it still has that spooky music.
In fact,
it shows how,
the intro to the show, it's pretty much the same thing. They didn't change much of. I mean, just maybe a few things here and there.
It reminds me of my Pure Mood CD because it was on.
I had that same CD too.
Well, I have to say on that note, if I can jump in, they're still putting the little. You have to read them. They're only up for about 5 seconds at the beginning, but they're putting those little strange statements like "trust no one," and they've had some new ones that you miss them. You got to watch the opening segment because they'll flash it across, and it gives you a hint of what's going to be in the episode, and it's a very timely statement usually. I mean, that's where the truth is out there came from the X-Files, you know. And so anyhow, I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen the 2 episodes, but they're excellent. They're worth getting a recording of or trying to find them illegally online. I don't care. Screw Fox. I don't like them anyway, but I like what they brought back this program with this producer and director, and they're just, the characters are up to it, the agents, the fight scenes, the fact that they're, it's nice to see that Mully and Scully are getting along, even though I guess they were married at one point, but they're not anymore. But we still going to find out at the end. I hope they don't blow it. What happened to that baby of hers that supposedly the aliens took? That's going to be the key. If they can end that well, then it'll be a classic for all time, that show.
Indeed.
Eric, pass it on to you. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I get you. I was going to say that Texas hasn't quite made it to that legalization wink, wink.
Well, that's another thing.
We're focused on our guns right now.
Yeah. I mean, believe me, I've had a couple of people unfriend me. Someone called me a gun guy. I'm not a gun guy. I just like reading the Constitution, and I've always been a civil libertarian. And that does include, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, it does include the right to self-defense, whether it's, and I got to watch what I'm saying. Everybody's got me paranoid now because they say you start saying stuff online or start talking a certain way, then the NSA, under the current no Bill of Rights hardly anymore, they can come knock down my door. They won't even knock on it anymore. They'll send a SWAT team to you, which we've discussed this before. They're just over-militarizing our civil police force. There's no reason for most police forces, and like even my local force now, they've got an armored vehicle. What is this, Nazi Germany? People better wake up and start turning that around and asking any one of your candidates or your current sitting person in a polite fashion at town hall meetings, why can we start taking away some of this military equipment that's just practically being given to our social police forces? And whether you like the president or this or that or the other person that's in or out of office, we cannot have where, and we've discussed this on your shows, where I would hope that our military, that the majority of them who were originally civilians, if anything were to happen wrong with our government, that they would not turn and oppress us. And I'm worried about that because they're trained to work as a unit. And police organizations are too. And all they have to do is leak some fake, false information about you or a group that you're in, and they come in like stormtroopers now. There's no longer, we're serving a warrant on you. That's scary as heck. You know? And I've never been arrested, but it scares me,
It's always in our thoughts, in our minds, Dino. Hey, we're at the bottom of the hour, Dino. We got to take our break, but it's always a treat when you call in.
X-Files is a treat too. Everybody watch it so we can discuss it in depth like we're a bunch of nerds next time.
Nerds!
Get healthy, you guys. Good night.
Thank you. Bye. All right, so like I said, it's the bottom of the hour, and yes, Gene. We'll take care of those Skype noises because, trust me, we're not here
There's nowhere to turn them off. There's nowhere to turn them off. I've looked all through here.
Have you gone through programs?
Mm-hmm.
The actual files themselves? They have to create... those files are WAV files that create those sounds. Maybe we
Does it show that anywhere?
We'll do some, research on that. But anyway, we'll be back.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sirlana.
part of the free music you can get at spaceboymusic.com. Just click on the download album buttons by each album. Songs like that will be there for you.
There's no limit.
There's no limit. You get them all.
And like I said before,
Grandma will love them.
Download it, share it, give it.
Explain to Grandma how to play it.
How to play it and how to get it at spaceboymusic.com. And, get you some free music. And, that's how I roll. Now it's free at Spaceboy Music.
You have to click download album.
Yes. And, just share away. And, you can't beat free with a stick. I mean, I guess you could, but,
Well, you could write the word free on a box and beat the box with a stick.
So
let's do that later.
SpaceboyMusic.com. Go check it out. Get you some. And then always play it loud. So,
all right, we're back. And I want to talk about something we've discussed previous show. Mm-hmm. And it was what's going on YouTube and the big fallout from Logan Paul, little idiot. I'll just
tell me how you really feel.
He's an idiot. So,
real quick, explain to our audience about who
he's this little idiot on YouTube.
What is he again?
Excuse me. He's a YouTuber. He has a channel.
Yeah.
He has a brother, Jake Paul, who has his own separate set of controversies,
which they don't like each other.
And they're brothers, and they don't like each other. So that goes to show. Now, Logan Paul made a big stink for himself by posting a video while he's over in Japan in the suicide forest at the foot of Mount Fuji. Saw an actual dead body, and how he did this was going into restricted areas. So, of course, you're going to see something you shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, this latest article I'm reading says here, Logan Paul and the internet need to stop treating Japan as clickbait. And I have to agree with this. Now, Logan had posted some videos while he's over there before he posted the dead body.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've long been fascinated with Japan. It's a different culture. They've got some bizarre ideas,
mm-hmm.
Especially their TV and their media, their advertising culture. It's beyond what we can think of. So, but he kind of went over there and acted like a jackass before he started the body thing. So, I don't know, maybe this is the way I was raised. You don't go to another country you are a representative,
mm-hmm.
whether you know it or not. If you're an American, you go to another country, you are a representative of the country you're from, like it or not. But why would you go over there and act like a jackass and be disrespectful in certain circumstances? So, his journey highlighted these videos, including he waved some raw fish in Japanese people's faces, like just on the street. He slapped it on the back of like a cab, the trunk of a cab, just left it as the cab pulled away. Dressed it like a Pikachu and throw plush Pokeballs at random people under cars, including a police officer, shouting, "Tokyo is like a real life cartoon." Like, they should have beat his,
mm-hmm.
So they're saying, his attitude is callous and dismissive, especially during that whole video where he blurs out the body.
Mm-hmm.
And his response to discovering the corpse of the Japanese man was neither respect nor horror, but glee, they're saying, to the viral content it would create. He did, now you can say, look, people react differently to death and whatnot, but this was like, something ain't right in this kid's brain.
Right.
And he's wearing the most ridiculous, idiotic thing, too. Now, of course, who points all this out first?
Mm-hmm.
PewDiePie, who he said, "Logan, welcome to the family," because PewDiePie's already been smacked down, disrespected, demonetized, lost his deals with Disney. Likewise, Logan Paul has lost his deals he had with Disney, which I didn't know he had anything.
They've both lost their YouTube Red
counts.
Not their accounts, but their original
deals.
Programming. Yeah.
Excuse me. I don't know why I got a cough now. But PewDiePie's sitting at 59 million subscribers, so it didn't hurt him at all. Don't think it's going to hurt Paul.
Logan, yeah.
So, but he wrote, or he said in the video, Logan said, "This is the most real vlog I've ever posted to this channel," he says with a smile on his face in the now deleted video. He goes, "Buckle the F up because you're never going to see a video like this again." Now, I want to say, in one of PewDie's latest videos, I think he puts an excerpt from some guys were talking about what it's like to live in this culture of the dopamine hit. Clickbait. You click that because like, ooh, want to see dead body, ooh, you want to see this, ooh, you want to see that. And even when you and I or anybody goes to your Facebook account, you post something and someone likes it, that's like getting a little hit of a drug. It's like, ooh, somebody's noticing me, type of thing. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're living off of now, is there's a gratification. So he said this was all going to be a joke, but when did it become real? So the people who've died in that forest have always been real. And they said Paul would have known this if he had researched it, spent more time learning about the subject and less time talking about cool ghosts he wanted to see. Just the whole thing that he thinks if this really was a dead body, I'm not really sure that he didn't stage it at this point, but if this was an honest to God dead body for real that he found, there is, I just can't, the distastefulness of this, I can't even encompass it in words. So, now there's, all over that forest, there's signs begging people to get help and where they can get help. God, I don't know this with his cough. I swear. So, they're saying he didn't even go into this knowing about the seriousness of this. I don't know what he thought he was going to find. I don't know what he was hoping to find. It's just, I don't know. But it's like I said, just like PewDie, it has not hurt his viewership, has not hurt his clicks. This does not seem to have been hurting his subscribership. So he's got 15 million right now, I think. So that just, but they're saying this whole thing was like, don't go over to Japan and places like these and act like an idiot like this. Well,
there's already countries that say that Americans are rude. And I guess it's usually the typical,
I haven't been there yet, so.
The typical wears a Hawaiian shirt, shorts, obnoxious. You just look around at some of the people that here in America alone, how rude they are. And could you imagine going overseas? When you're in a foreign land, you want to take in the culture. You want to be respectful and mindful of the culture and be an ambassador.
Saying that, I've never been to a foreign culture at all. Unless you count California. I've been there twice, and that's it. That's the furthest away I've ever been from home.
Well, I've been on both sides of the coast. I've been all the way to the Georgian coast, and I got to see the Pacific and, in California, which was a real treat. So I could say I've been on both coasts. So it is a different experience. Even going to California was a unique experience.
That was like being in a foreign country.
It was. Even though it's still, well, for now it's America until some if California doesn't secede to
break off,
we're all a big family, regardless. And I'm glad we're segueing into this point because I wanted to talk about this. Is that we are one big family. We've got the crazy uncle that's quite humorous. You know what I'm talking about, Bailey. And you've got the aunt that is a cat woman who collects cats, and you've got the stern mother. You've got the pull my finger father. Just follow me on this. I'm talking here. Give me a chance to talk. I'm trying to give you a chance to soothe your throat and stop coughing. The point I'm trying to make is that as a big family, we have diverse points of opinion. And, there was a time when the old phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words would never hurt me.
Seem to be hurting people.
Yeah, and so I think it's always relevant, and excuse my stutter, but thank you, to let people know it's okay if somebody doesn't conform to your way of thinking. They're just words. You don't have to agree with them. I'm sure
that's not the culture we live in.
I'm sure that you feel in the sense that you want to reach out and choke them to death in Homer Simpson style. But the thing is that, we limit ourselves by not listening to what they have to say and say, hey, I've listened to what you've had to say. I disagree with you. It doesn't make me feel like I need to hate you. At the end of the day, you've got your opinion, I've got my opinion, but we have so much in common. So let's find common ground, if you will, and work our differences out that way. It's important when I bring this up, and I guess it kind of ties into what we've heard earlier tonight about our chat room. We have a great chat room, and Solana and I, especially I, work hard on making sure the chat room is a great environment for everybody. And I guess I will tell this story that back late 90s, early 2000, or the turn of the millennial, my mother was on the internet at that time and got into chat rooms, and they were in their infancies of chat rooms, if you will. And there were some pretty bad troll people in there trying to attack my mom. And my mom was not, it's not like today how we're really tech savvy as far as people across the board getting these chat rooms and, the speed of information going back between people, and it is today. So she had a hard time with these trolls. And I really work hard to make sure that the people that listen to this program that are in our chat do not experience that. But that doesn't mean that I'm saying that I tried to block out an opinion. It goes back to an old Star Trek thing that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And if somebody is attacking the group as a general and doesn't, I guess, follow this simple guidelines is, 1, we all have different opinions. 2, let's hear what you have to say. I may not agree with it, but I'm willing to listen to what you have to say. And my final thing is that let's work on what we do agree on, where we do share ideas, and what we do share concepts of, because that's what it comes down to is, 1, expanding our knowledge, so that we can go to other people, and when other people say X, Y, Z, you could tell them, hey, look, this is what I've heard, this is what I've seen, this is what I've researched, and this is the idea that I come from. If we all were the same, it would be a very boring place that we live in. So, be yourself. Be true to yourself. Like we were talking about that earlier with Solaris BlueRaven. We have to be our true selves. But that doesn't mean we have to be nasty and quite frankly, assholes. So, at the end of the day, let's be our true selves. Be courteous to others. And remember, when you're in a foreign land, respect the culture and the feelings of those individuals in foreign lands. So that's my soapbox speech. And I'm bringing it back to you, Solana.
Oh, hey.
So, Solana, do you have any social media things you need to promote, or,
No.
a book that you want to pitch, or...
No, I don't. Exactly.
How updated is our website?
Well, like I said, I've been in hibernation. It needs updating.
Mm-hmm.
So I need content to put there. Ooh, that's interesting. Anyway, so Spaceboy is my bartender. What?
It's 9 o'clock on a Saturday.
Oh, God, I hate that song.
The space cadets are walking in.
I really hate that song. But I'll just say I agree with everything you said.
About trains again.
There's giving your opinion, and then there's doing it in a way that, like, well, if you think this, then you're an XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
That is the more aggressive stuff you shut down.
And your opinion means nothing to me.
Yeah.
I am the only, and then of course, I guess it always gets me is the Facebook comments like, well, if you don't like my opinions, you shouldn't follow me on Facebook. You know, it's like, you know, because I'm just going to let my drawers drop and you can look at my rump from behind.
This is why Facebook has got to put an eye-rolling icon.
Well, the thing is, I think there's a big
choices.
change coming to Facebook. You know, I think there was talk about how Facebook is going to be changing their news feed, the way things are developed. My concern is that I'm not going to get those great memes of cats anymore. So,
well, if you follow certain Facebook pages that have that in there, you will, because I do. I follow one that's just nothing but pictures and art of owls because I think they're cool. And then I have retro sci-fi that I follow, and I have just nothing but cool pictures. And I follow, remember Night Flight?
Yes,
I follow Night Flight on Facebook.
I follow lots of stuff that I post on my wall to, you know, give interesting content to people that may not follow these interesting, you know, sci-fi and movies and just various things that I post out there. And if that's going to be cut down, I'm concerned that the, you know, the way Facebook is going, you're not going to want to spend much time on Facebook. And
they also need an icon that says, I love you, but you're delusional. I don't know how you encapsulate that in a facial expression.
No, they need the, oh, bless your heart.
Oh, God, they need an, oh, bless your heart, honey. Mm-hmm. Which is like, I love you, but you're delusional.
Yeah, we'll have to do some more research on this Facebook thing of things and changes that are coming so that the audience is prepared for it.
I just do, you call me a wuss if you want to, or, you know, scaredy cat or whatever, but I keep my opinion on important things to myself. Myself.
And that's sad because, you know, there was a time when we could have a civil conversation about current events, for example, politics.
I'd rather do it in person.
And people would not try to pull out a dagger and try to kill you because you're on this far side of the fence or that far side of the fence. It's important to have discussions on a political nature because things can affect our very freedoms that we hold so cherished in this country. And it's just a sad commentary on things.
If you want to know my personal opinion on more controversial or hot topics, you're going to have to pick up a phone and call me.
Oh.
Ooh.
I mean, not to say that we don't have our opinions. It just, we're not here to alienate our audience.
No.
In any way, fashion, or form.
That's why I keep a lot of my opinions to myself.
But I think at the end of the day, what's important to me as Space Boy is that based out of the sorrow that I had watching my mom have to deal with people on the internet, it frustrates me nowadays to see people drawing these lines politically when at the end of the day, the Democrats and the Republicans do not have your best interest. And, you know, left or right, you're fooled if you're going to believe 100% one way or another. It's important to keep an open mind and to look at all the facts. You know, I keep repeating Jim Marrs and his phrase that he would always end up on any program that I would listen to is that the truth is out there. You have to go and find that truth, and it's so important, and it applies to just about anything. That
a lot of people can't see past their own emotions.
Yes, it's a very passionate, emotional time for all people, and you know sometimes you just got to turn the news off. Because all it's doing is shoving garbage down your throat and making you, quite frankly, very toxic. It's very toxic.
Social media can do that too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when we actually see news reporters being opinionated, they're not paid to be opinionated. They're supposed to report the news.
When the Muppets have political opinions, that's when I'm like, no, I can't do this anymore.
That's sad as well. I mean, things from our childhood. I mean... it's very frustrating to see things like that. And all I see in all this is people trying to make us divided.
Yeah.
And
it's very calculated.
And the thing is, we need to be united as a people, and that we're the people in control. You know,
what Solaris was saying.
I was just getting ready to say, as a whole, we can defeat the enemy that's out there if we're united. Don't listen to what they're saying and what they're throwing down your throat. Like I said, and Solana's saying, it's toxic. And it just makes you sick to just bombard yourself with that. And
like
then,
this stuff I'm seeing Logan Paul is toxic, you know.
And yeah, and in that angle, it's the you know, don't get me wrong, PewDiePie is doing it for ratings or to bring in and give content, but I think in some aspects he is kind of a hypocrite.
He is.
And
I think he'd be the first to even admit that.
And but it just goes to show you that his following is not affected very much, you know.
Because his following are people younger than he is. Same with Logan Paul. They haven't formed much of a
mindset.
Yeah.
So you know, it's like I used to tell a certain niece, you know, don't go blindly into that good night. Always ask the question why. Never stop asking why. The why leads to the truth, and whether it be good or bad, but at least you know where you stand.
What is that quote by Picard? He says, you must stand up truth where personal truth, historical truth, or scientific truth. If you can't find it within yourself to stand up and tell the truth, you don't deserve to wear that uniform. So turn in your uniform.
So there you go, Solana. We both got on a soapbox, if you will, but it's important to bring the subject up because, you know, Spaceboy Universe, we're here to entertain, but, you know, if we can pass a nugget of reality to you, pass the nuggets of reality to you.
On the left-hand side.
Pass the nuggets from the left-hand side.
Look what you've done.
I'm sorry. You know,
look what you've done.
The fact that you cough and you're laughing means that, you know, at least I'm being funny, you know, because most of the time when I'm trying to be funny, you won't laugh one way or another.
Well, when you're funny, I'll laugh. I have to wait for the funny to happen.
Well,
your funny and my funny are not the same on the same levels.
I get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, the funny begins, so, you know.
Oh, gosh, well, I guess I'm just missing it all.
Well, you are usually asleep, so.
Well, here we are. We're about ready to start arguing, so that means it's nearly time to end the show.
Yes, it is almost time. Well, it is about time to roll that famous.
You want some scrambled eggs?
Well, you can have some scrambled eggs. I'm just ready to
crash.
Go to take care of some business.
Oh.
But you know, that business is not of any of your business, Space Cadets. And but
Bev.
But on that magical note, I'm not even going to ask you, Solana. So I guess we'll see you next week when we'll have another fabulous guest.
We will?
Yes, we will.
Is it confirmed?
I just need to get her bio and just confirm that, hey, this is when we're going to do it.
Awesome.
We have an author, and I know her very well. I've known her for over 40-something years, and that's all I'm going to say. And on that, I push a button, and here we go. Play that famous music to lead us out. Good night.
Spaceboy Universe is hosted by Spaceboy and Solana. Executive producer is Solana. Social media producer is Dennis Koch. Associate producer is Lee Ann Cordes. Music production is Spaceboy of SpaceboyMusic.com. Special thanks goes out to Lee Ann K, K28, Mark S, and Bob N. This has been a Spaceboy Universe production. Support the universe by exploring Spaceboy Universe with Spaceboy and Solana. Sweet dreams, Space Cadets.